was it 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. So we still got like 20 minutes.
Right, but does Rick get on the air at 6 or 6:05?
6.
Oh, shoot. So does that mean like it creates a new Facebook entry?
It does.
So, yeah, we can wire up that link This is not a two-person job. Wow. So, was that as funny of a line as I thought it was when Roger Knowles says, and there in the middle of Swan Park Lake is Monkey Island. Monkey Island is closed down after a monkey escaped and bit a boy.
I thought that was hilarious.
That was
funny.
Very Simpsons-esque.
What happened to Monkey Island? A monkey escaped. Oh yeah, we also got a cheat sheet.
What's the cheat sheet?
Woo!
Oh, whoops. But our microphones aren't hooked up to this in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I didn't think that was a problem.
I can't think straight at 6 in the morning. I've been up all night.
You have a mixer picture, right?
I do not. That was the
Oh,
issue.
that's-
We just, we spent 10 minutes trying to.
Oh, God.
Oh, thank you. So how do we do this with the phone jack then? Okay, so we use an XLR?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when the one I just gave you changed, we got
Yeah.
one daisy chain.
Well, let's see if we have another.
Well, I don't think we do.
Oh, we do have one more.
Do we?
Man, that sun is just right there, right? You're being a court jester? There is one that's perfect for that, isn't it? It's that one. I thought it was whatever one that is. I think. Yeah, the line or that 6 balanced or something.
This one is like the most correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting returns.
Yeah, we're definitely getting a return signal. The question is, are we getting a mic signal? And I don't know if this will.
So which one can I plug into?
Anyway.
Yeah, so this one's over back here.
Testing 1, 2. Well, I am registering a little something, so the Comrex is feeding something back. Are you able to hear me in your headphones? But you may need to turn the return down and the local up. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? In the headphones. Maybe you can't.
Nope, I'm still just hearing, is it Lizzo?
I think my hair back now.
Well, local should be just my headphone line, right? The exam.
Well, right. And would he hear?
Return to the station.
And it's just the station. And he would only hear us via the station, though. Right? He wouldn't hear our.
So we're not gonna hear a local, but we'll hear ourselves through the station?
Do we need to adjust?
Or would we hear ourselves? Would we? I don't know. Testing. All right. Gosh.
Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, so now I got the local turned up at 6.
Locals turned up on 6. Still not hearing anything, Ninja?
Just Lizzo. Apparently she's feeling fussy.
Because those aren't outs. Those are ins, those XLRs.
Right, which is what we need in, right? In the Comrec so it can go out to the station.
Well, we haven't
Are you coming out there?
coming out of there in, yeah, so we should be. So I guess why don't we try to get a hold of, oh, if he's playing Lizzo, we should be able to call Rick then.
Call Rick Armand. He's probably going on after the song. What are we asking him?
If just, we're doing a mic check. Mic check.
Hey, Rick, we're doing a mic check on the Comrex.
Yeah, I hear nothing.
Yeah, it's a problem. That's what we were worried about.
You're not hooked up.
No.
Does it say WBB WXRO as the very last thing on the screen?
Yeah, we got that. We got that part. We're trying to figure out the mixing board to Comrex situation.
Why do you need a mixing board?
In order to get through on the stream. I mean, we could just ask the mixing board and just do it on the Comrex, but then we're not going to be on the stream for audio.
Well, we could just do natural audio off
Okay,
the.
you call me back, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Bye.
Do we have a mic, like an omnidirectional that we're not using? Or like, that we can just plug right into the camera?
Or use it now. What about this one? I could just unplug this one, right? Yeah, this one could do it.
Which one is this? I mean, just set that one there, and then plug it directly into the camera.
Or plug it directly into the Comrex.
No, I mean, the camera's audio, and if you could disconnect all the mics there and plug them into this, that'd be really helpful.
Oh, you would use that microphone to get a. I see what
Yeah,
you're
we're
saying.
doing this one to the camera.
Okay, and then have the rest of the mics in there. I think we're gonna do all this and find out there's a much easier way to.
That's always how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, so why would I unplug any of these inputs then?
Just the one that goes into the audio and XLR. Just this one, because we split it in stereo.
Oh, that's the only one.
And then if we need more length, then we can use, well, we can use change these and get a little more length. These pick up really good.
Testing.
We still have levels.
Testing, 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 testing.
Craig, say something.
What's the question?
Could you say something?
Yeah, but I'm going directly into the Comrex here.
I just wanted to see if that mic I see was picking up.
Oh, this mic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, say something here now?
Yeah, I mean, we can move that as close as we want, but that'll pick us up.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. And if you want to move it closer, we have one more line. We could definitely do so.
And then what what I was doing was, I was unplugging these mics. Yeah, right? Yeah, we got it.
All right, Ninja, you are into.
What did you take? So we've got that one, and this one, and then I just gotta get the wireless.
Which one is this one? Okay, this one is a 4. Okay, that should help. This is 4.
I
This
don't like
is
the
4.
sound of, oh.
4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
Are you seeing it?
Well, this is the connected one.
Yeah.
You're talking about your receiver mic?
Yeah.
This is Ninja's one. Ninja's mic. Blah, blah, blah,
I know,
blah.
so it must be doing something.
We're good.
I'm gonna use the loo.
I think he'd prefer if you called him the Lewis. Yes.
Oh, I made like a beeping noise when I did that.
So, but, yeah, we've did,
Yeah.
test. We do see mic levels. We just can't hear them.
I can hear it.
You can hear? Oh, yeah, we can, okay.
And that just might be, yeah, the return setup.
You said what now? Testing, testing, there I am.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
I can. What are you in, 2?
I'm in 2, yes.
He's gonna balance us all to 0. And he's in 4 or 5 or 6. 6. Test. Right? Oh God, I'm strangling myself on my. Whew. Well, now we know for next time when the idea comes up to do an all-nighter at the old Beaver Dam Area Community Theater, we may just have to find other things that will. Oh, sorry, we're busy that day. We're not going to be able to do that.
We're gonna need you to pre-book the Ghost if you could.
Right.
Plan something for us.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing with the old community theater would be that it would have nothing cool to look at, and there would be some make my portrait that the guy drew and some paint cans.
Oh. Hey, rookie.
Am I supposed to come on you guys now or what?
You know, whenever you want to.
You do a mic check? You can come out whenever you
Yeah,
want.
you can check mics.
Whenever you want to. Whenever you feel like talking to us. You don't have, doesn't have to be now.
Alright, I'm coming out to you now then, hold on a second.
Okay.
He sounds more tired than when I saw him an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, he sounded really just not in with what we're doing.
Is he up late watching us?
I'm sure he was.
No, it's
It was impressive, yeah.
She did a pretty good job. I think she probably would have stayed longer, but she was falling asleep.
She was. What time did she leave? Around 1:30, 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Was it at 1:30?
Yeah, it was before the witching hour, which I think is her plan.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we
we
mentioned
mentioned
it
the
comes
weekend
around.
hour. Let me book it.
It turns out, yeah, this place might not be haunted, or at least it wasn't haunted between 10 p.m. last night and 6 a.m. this morning, but that doesn't mean that we didn't have some really weird, crazy things happen.
Right.
That might have been caused by our undoing.
Or, well, we ruled some things out.
Yeah, we did debug some things.
So the most interesting thing that happened was that in the first hour, like all these things happened.
Yes.
First, there was something that was happening with your daughter
Yeah, and Sherry.
and Sherry.
They were in the Swan Room and heard what Sherry described as a escape ladder, like a fire escape ladder, falling down or being pulled down.
Yeah.
And
Now that one, we still don't know anything. We're gonna go back and review the tape and try to analyze, you know, how the sewer system or the plumbing caused that, right? Or it could have just been a wreck outside the window.
Dog in the
Right.
studio.
But then about 24 minutes after that, right, so Rick, you're gonna appreciate this. So like about it was at 10:54 p.m. last night. We were all sitting around talking around our microphone array, and I was sitting next to Sherry, and, you know, we're jibber-jabbering, and then there's a quick lull in the conversation, about 1 second. And in that 1 second, we hear very clearly, very distinctly, shh. No,
I don't recall that at all.
it wasn't that we didn't bury it. Paul is still alive. If you think that Paul faked his death, then I'm sorry, it was replaced. That just didn't happen. But we heard very clearly somebody say, shh.
Right. And it sounded annoying.
It did sound annoying, like, come on, like, shh. And it just so happened to be while I was talking, which Sherry made a point about.
Right.
Oh, now the ghost is telling Craig to shut up. Everybody, obviously, even living or dead, thinks he rambles on too much. So I appreciated Sherry doing that.
yeah, of course.
So we heard shh. And Sherry thought it was her name.
Right.
Which was, and we all heard it at the same time. We all sat around, we looked at each other, and we're just like, oh my gosh, this is the weirdest thing. Did you hear it? Yeah, I heard it. And we were just,
Right.
and we weren't even here for an hour, and we're like, oh my god, this place is gonna be popping tonight. There's gonna be ghosts popping out of the walls. If they're already telling us to shush,
Right.
stuff is just gonna go crazy.
I was ready for the walls to start bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the elevator would open, 2 twins would walk out.
Exactly.
There's not even an elevator here.
No.
Yes.
It is, because we were able to debunk it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So,
And well, with good old fashioned science.
yeah, we
In years.
went back and listened to it, and we discovered a little bit later that we could hear the headphones. I was sitting on the counter in another room that is monitoring our own audio.
On like a 1 second delay.
Yeah, it's like a 1 second delay. And Warmbold had just said, do you have any stories, Sherry? And really extended that shh at the beginning.
Sherry.
And it's immediately after that that you see everybody kind of perk up, like, did you hear that? So it was just us hearing Warmbold come back on the monitoring headphones, which we did turn down after that, just to make sure we wouldn't have that issue again.
But it was so distinct, and we were like, no, it was inside.
It was
It
inside.
wasn't. We kept saying for like an hour, oh, that was internal. That was internal. It happened here. We all heard it until we debunked it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the goal. I mean, you don't want to just walk in and think everything is ghosts, everything is paranormal. You want to try and figure out what could be causing it. You know, we had several EMF detector readings that we went, oh, well, this is obviously where they ground the entire electrical system for the building. This pipe, this cast iron pipe, is giving off a signal.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
Oh, I thought you introduced us.
Yeah, you mentioned everything.
You didn't introduce us properly?
Thomas,
kind of
would you like
about
to
you.
give the details?
Yeah, so we were at the Dodge County Historical Society. They actually have a great ghost story festival going on tonight. It's totally free. It's in the back of the Historical Society.
Wait, they do?
Yeah, free admission, family friendly, all ages. It's 7:30 tonight. Bring a lawn chair or a blanket, and they're going to have professional storytellers telling these ghost stories. One of them actually a play that was written just for this event.
By an internationally acclaimed award-winning playwright
Yes.
who's written plays for the Kennedy Center and the Olympics.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Downtown Beaver Dam.
One of Park Avenue.
next to the police station. All right, so here's the deal, and we should be joined at some point this morning by Dodge County Historical Society Museum Curator Kurt Sampson, who is, he's somebody who says, I just have nonstop weird things that happen in here all the time that I can't explain. But it's not just one person, it is former aldermen who are on the Beaver Dam County Council, also members of the Historical Society Board, that has a weird story about being here and hearing music, and he assumed it was coming from a car outside, and then he realized it wasn't, then he realized it was ragtime music, and he walked toward the source of where it was, and it would get quieter as he walked toward it. It was like a whole weird thing. That's just one. Maybe he's walking, well, yeah, that could be one theory as well, if you want to keep on applying reason and rationalism to what we're doing here,
It's
right?
the first time the morning show's ever used reason before.
Again, just one of a number, at their Christmas parties typically turn into a discussion about all the weird things that have happened to people within this building. That's how they kind of got the idea for the Ghost Storytelling Festival. There's a lot of commonality among them of hearing what appears to be a book drop. And that's kind of like the big theme of what they all the Historical Society people think. They call it the book drop. Oh, did you hear the book drop? But there's books here, but there's clearly nowhere that a book would have dropped when you think it's coming from this section of the museum. By the way, we're live streaming on DailyDodge.com right now. If you want to go to the video tab, you can watch all this amazing action in place right now. We still have 3 hours. Just because the sun's up doesn't mean that the ghosts aren't just going to decide to pop out now.
Absolutely. Because for all we know, book dropping, that was part of the kids' library up there, back when it was a library.
Exactly.
Kids drop books all the time,
All the
but
time.
kids probably weren't here overnight. Or they might have been here early in the morning getting a book.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Right. Yeah, and we'll take note of the fact that we've been up for like 24 hours, and then we'll have to introduce ourselves and set the scene.
Right.
I'm
Thanks, Kurt.
Thomas.
No, yeah. Yeah, Rick, you gotta understand, we've been up for like 36 hours
We
here.
did discover that, you can be scared by a pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're not expecting him to show up. I mean, you're waiting for him to show up, but you didn't expect him to show up.
Mhm.
And, you also start to wonder where doorbell sounds are coming from when you don't realize there's a doorbell.
That freaked us out.
Yeah.
Because I was saying it was over here, you were saying it was over there.
And we did have a phantom smell experience.
We did, yeah, maybe we should save that for the second
For the second
segment.
segment, yes.
Oh, juicy.
That's what we call a teaser, right?
That's no phantom smell, right?
Was that the maple syrup story?
No, that's not the maple syrup story. Yeah, the smell of brimstone and sulfur, right?
Oh, wow.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rick.
Hi, Rick. Whoa.
Bye, Rick.
Who would have thought the first disembodied voice we hear is Rick?
Well, that one took terribly.
Yeah.
Oh, that could have gone so much better.
Where are you guys again? Once again?
You didn't introduce us?
You didn't already know?
You didn't mention it. Hey, we're going to be going to the Dodge County Historical Society. They spent all night there. I figured there was some kind of...
Everybody who was listening is also watching. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know Rick's never going to let us live this down if we don't have some sort of major experience. Like at some point, it's like, I feel like I should just go up there and drop a book.
Kyra, can we put a sheet on Kyra and have her walk around in the back?
Right, well, she could go to the second floor and just scream.
It's crazy.
Oh, you're in the yet?
Yeah, I'm here at BEB.
Yes.
Oh, is that the?
Yes.
You just want to stand back here and, you're a teenager, that's creepy.
It's not suspicious.
It's not suspicious.
It's not going to get back there.
That's gonna be tricky.
This is.
Go over the top of this one and then go back this way or go that way.
Yeah, but this way
around.
might be the best.
Come to me.
I keep dropping my phone. Is this supposed to be unplugged? Yes, it is. All right, so we'll just have to wait here for 10 more minutes for our next opportunity to talk. So next time with Rick, we need to do like a whole, and we're live from the Dodge County Historical Society.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
All that they do.
Right. 104 Front Street in Beaver Dam.
Oh, is that the address?
Built in,
105.
oh, is it 105? Built in 1891 by a guy who's dead now.
Well, Rick, let's talk about Green Giant, shall we? Did you know it's actually named after a giant cultivar of pea?
You missed that. Joe wasn't there for that
No,
one.
I wasn't. That must have been from Roger Knoll.
Honestly,
That was great.
we got like a personalized historical tour, like after we already did one, and we all went with the camera and everything, and we're all like, what's this? What's it? We were like, I don't know. And then Roger went down there, was like, this is this part of history. And we were just
Well, I
like, oh wow.
donated this, so my name isn't on here.
And we were like, that is fascinating. He's like, well, we were talking about like, do they make gas stoves? And Roger was like, well, I'll have you know that the Monarch brand is for their electric stoves, and they made a brand called Paramount for their gas stoves, which we just had to speculate. We're like, oh yeah, thanks, yeah, they must have made gas stoves. I mean, basically, our interpretation of history was as lazy as it could possibly be, and we should have had Roger the whole time so that we could understand even the slightest thing that was going on.
Which I think he was by far the biggest skeptic to be here.
Right.
Oh, totally. I mean,
Roger, do you have any story?
it's been a lot of late nights. You experienced anything?
Nope.
Let's talk about Monkey Island.
Right?
Yeah, we'll have to work the Monkey Island story into a break.
Tell us why we almost had to get Dustin Hoffman here. Dustin outbreak.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a short story, that outbreak, the Monkey Island story. So Rick, did you know?
Ooh.
It is very hard to see him.
Thank you for not tripping down the stairs. Oh my gosh, that would not have been the book drop we were looking for.
Oh, man.
There's Hattie Doolittle.
What if we saw another figure in black going for us? Kyra, what are you doing up there? Like, how'd you get around?
I'm still back here. I'm not gonna lie, Hattie was a little hot.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Not too
Wait,
bad.
which one is Hattie the painting over there? Or is she one of the pictures?
She's the picture on the right.
Okay.
Under the guy with the big beard.
On the left, on the right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Underneath the one that's kind of greenish tone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she never got married, she just died in a
Wait,
lonely old
still
spin train.
rambling about good news.
Is he?
Success journal, what the hell is this?
Yeah, what is a success journal?
Something to do every morning.
Can you actually hear those?
Yeah. That's why I was waiting for me to come back over and be entertaining.
Yeah, he's really nervous about you.
And you just kind of look like an extra on Not Without My Daughter.
Oh my gosh. It blends right in with the costumes.
It does. You know, a lot like waiting for the Great Pumpkin.
Right.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things like, who knows, maybe if we did 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, which obviously we're not going to. You know, but maybe we would have experienced something more. I mean, some of these historical society members are probably here multiple times a month.
Sure.
You know, multiple times a year.
Let's do that with Rick next time. Let's tell him like, well, we didn't experience anything overnight tonight. That's why we're gonna be back all next week.
Right.
We're gonna start on
It's a
Sunday.
constant week.
We're not going to leave. We're doing all of our work from here. Put that hat on her. Better not, it might be made of mercury.
Right.
Oh, it's only in solid form though, that's fine.
Yeah. I'd rather not risk that. Last I checked, that'll still have the ability to melt.
So where should we spend overnight next time?
It's a great question.
The bedroom.
I mean, we had a bunch of people call in and give like, oh, you should go here, you should go there, you should go to the house in, what, was it Horicon or whatever?
Yeah,
That-
the bunk bed house.
Yeah,
If the bunk beds aren't there though, I don't get it.
right.
News time.
It's 50 degrees right now?
Wait, Craig Warmel's gonna be in the DailyDodge News Center and then he's gonna be at the Historical Society?
Whoa.
Fastest working man in news biz.
Shooting at a funeral.
Quit touching my face, ghost.
I can't believe we didn't see this coming,
What's that?
What?
that nothing would happen. Like, that wasn't even an option when we put this
Still have no
together.
explanation for the sound that happened last
Yeah,
night.
no.
I mean, yet. We'll see.
We'll send it to some ghost experts who will isolate the sound.
Right.
We'll analyze it, speak with some plumbers and electricians,
Mm-hmm.
some stonemasons maybe.
What if we gotta cover like a really serious water issue here? Like it's, you got that pipe checked out, that would have worse, that would have been serious.
Oh, it made a clanker.
Too much fiber.
Not enough. They didn't find any ghosts, but they saved the museum hundreds of thousands of dollars in future plumbing bills.
Well, it's worth it. Oh, that family's keeping
Yeah, hotspot's working good. Oh wait, it's hooked up to
The-
Wi-Fi.
No, it's not. It's
No,
a
no,
regular point.
the greater point.
Oh, that's just going straight off of.
Yeah.
Man, we couldn't get a signal in here when we tried with the Cradle Point a couple of years ago. We had to stand by that window the whole time.
We gotta try that spot next time.
Stupid Hattie. I mean, wonderful,
Right?
attractive.
Yep. Amazing. Yep. Well dressed.
Yeah.
No matter how many layers you put on the move.
Hey, Craig, it's you. Yeah.
Yeah, listen to this. Oh, this is the short form. The long form is good. He's just like, I'm almost home. He's from Michigan.
You got audio
It's
of it?
4 times the legal limit. Yeah, there's some audio at one point.
Amazing.
I think from police dash cam. 4 times the legal limit. Driving the wrong way on I-41. And so the cops drove in the right lane, the correct lane, next to him, hoping to get his attention. That didn't work. I assume it was kind of like that scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where they're like, "You're going the wrong way." Ah, he's drunk. How do you know which way we're going?
I just imagine that phone call, like the joke everybody talks about. They're like, oh, there's reports of some idiot on the highway driving backwards. What idiot? There's hundreds of them.
You're worth till 1 o'clock.
We'll see. I'll track the 5 o'clock for sure.
You didn't do that yesterday?
Oh, I did 9 and I did 10. But,
How long does it take you to, is it gonna take you 3 hours to voice track
it
to?
took 15 minutes to do that, so. But I wasn't feeling drunk then, and I am now, so.
So how about that cigarette smell, huh? That was
Yeah,
weird.
that was crazy. Do you know what kind of brand it was?
Old. Stale.
Durrell.
Good old Lucky Strike.
It's probably one that John knows the jingle to, that's for sure.
John
Remember he like knew all the cigarette jingles? Oh man, he knew like every one.
Well, he's getting to be a little forgetful lately.
About his jingles or?
You know.
No.
Yeah, there's the whole Mark Wahlberg birthday
Donnie will.
week. Donnie Wahlberg. Good
See,
point.
who's
See,
forgetful?
who's forgetful now? Was that the only one that heard that?
There's,
What?
like clang sound?
No, it was more like the building settling over there.
It's definitely possible.
There's a ghost behind me. Whoever keeps you entertained.
What? Oh.
Whoever keeps you entertained. Oh. It's not
I'm not
me.
sure if I want to know what you thought you heard.
What did you hear?
Something about ain't quite one, ain't quite the other.
No, I just noticed that vacuum. Has that vacuum been there the whole time?
Yes.
It is.
Oh.
Has it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never noticed it either.
I've noticed it several times. Like, what a weird place to put your vacuum.
What?
There's also parking in your back in the basement.
There's
a parking meter?
I did see that, yes.
Oh, I totally missed that. I think he's still talking about weather.
He's gonna play his music kicker first.
Oh, right, yeah.
Is this the phone? Oh, there we go. Oh, our one viewer.
So it's Wade. That's who it was.
Oh, I'm sitting right now.
We are here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
Are you there?
It's me. It's
I'm-
me and
I'm-
him
I'm
and the
Thomas.
other guy.
And the other guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
first,
I mean,
let
it's
us
been a
tell
wild
you,
night.
we're at the
Yeah.
Dodge County Historical Society. We just want to let you know right now, 105 Park Avenue, the old Williams Free Library, where they're going to have a great ghost story event tonight at 7:30. Wade, bring a lawn chair or a blanket.
And we telling ghost
It's
stories.
going to be fun
They
for all
got
ages.
a one-act play.
It's totally free.
It's written by a professional playwright.
They have refreshments.
It's going to be something, part of the big Arts and P&E festival that's going on all weekend in and around the city of Beaver Dam. So yeah, we were like, hey, let's spend the night at the Dodge County Historical Society and document all the ghost sightings
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
we could possibly document.
And we have a long list of, how many?
Was it 4?
Four?
4?
Right, sure.
So within the first hour, we had like 2 completely unexplained things, or at least up until that point.
Right.
And we were just like, wow, this, what did you say earlier? This place is, the walls are going to be bleeding blood by midnight. This stuff was just happening so fast and furious.
And we hadn't even finished having the interview with Patrick Lutz at that point, and we were already experiencing some stuff.
That one is not,
Yeah, right. Well, there was a noise.
there was a noise.
That was experienced by Sherry and Kyra that none of the rest of us heard, apparently.
No.
That, again, Sherry described as being like a fire escape ladder being dropped or lowered. loudly.
And this while they were in Hattie Doolittle's quarters. Now, 100 years ago, apparently libraries would just have the librarians sleep over like they were Alice in the Brady Bunch.
Right.
So she had this room, which is not the Swan Room, it has all the history of the Swan
She lived
House.
there for like 40 years.
40 years she lived there, and, so there's a lot of talk about that, Hattie Doolittle haunting the Dodge County Historical Society, and that's where the noise was heard.
That's where the noise was heard, yep.
Right.
And apparently nobody else heard it, but we went and did some investigation, and we have yet to determine the cause of the sound, but that may be something we figure out later.
Yeah. Now, then, that brings it, not 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes later, that's when we all experienced, well, I don't even know, the shush.
Shush, yeah.
Yeah, it was the shush. And it just, exactly,
Yeah, you got it.
yeah.
That's
Now,
how I felt.
well, the shush, so I was talking.
Mhm.
I may have been rambling on a little bit, as
You were.
Sherry had pointed out.
Yes.
May have been chatty, may have been just talking more than a normal person would talk. Maybe just kind of going on.
underselling it.
Or orating a bit, yeah.
And then there was a pause in the conversation of about 1 second, and that's when we heard shh. And it was a human voice. And we all looked at each other and we were like, did you hear that? And we were all like, yeah.
And we definitely could determine it was coming from inside the building. It wasn't an outside noise we were hearing.
The shush was coming from inside the building.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no question about that. Listen, do you smell something? Yeah, right. There was no slime.
No slime.
And as far as we know, the card catalog still has all of its cards in it.
I hadn't checked, but
Well, for about an hour, we were kind of like, wow.
we kept going back to it. We're like, but yeah, that really sounded like it was right over there. Like it had to be.
Just 10 feet away from us.
Right.
It was clearly something that was in here that made the shushing noise and told me to shut up, basically.
Right, and Craig did finally say, like, Ninja, can we go back? Can we look at this? Can we pull up the video? Can we check it? So I did. I went back in and found that point in the conversation, and we were able to determine what the cause of the shush was.
What was the
Dun,
shush?
dun.
I wonder.
So it turns out we could hear just faintly the headphones that are monitoring the stream from where we were sitting,
Which was about 1 second behind.
which is about a second delay behind. And so Craig had just finished talking, and the last thing he had said, as we were all talking about personal experiences we had had paranormally, he said, okay, do you have one? Sherry. Just like that. And you can hear it in the stream. If you go back and watch it, you'll hear it. And right after he says that and hands her the mic is when everybody perks up and goes, did you hear that?
Oh, so the replay of me saying Sherry, which we thought was the ghost, does not appear on the video.
No, you
Okay.
can't hear the follow-up shush because it's too far for the mic to pick up.
Oh, follow-up shush me.
Right, there was no echo to your original shush,
Yeah.
but you can tell that's when she heard it. So that's how we debunked that.
We all did. We're all a little disappointed.
Well, we might just be able to get something that says Sherry, and it could work the same way.
Mhm.
Well, there was the vision of the axe murderer,
Mhm.
or did I just have that? Was that? Oh, that might have just been me. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it
guess
might have
it's
just been
the
us
one.
walking past all the axes and Sherry hoping
Oh.
we weren't going to become an axe murderer.
Oh,
Sherry
that was
did-
into delivery guy then.
Sherry did mandate that there are axes on the wall, you're right, and Sherry mandated that we count them each time and make sure there's not one missing.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
She also made sure that anytime we moved as a pack, she was always in the middle.
Yeah, she was the Oreo cream to our ghost paranormal squad.
Yes,
Oreo,
yes.
yeah.
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 That's a word.
You
Yeah.
smelled something. Do you want to talk about that now?
No, we need to save that for the next break. We've
Right.
got to milk this thing for the whole morning show. We can't just come out and admit that we wasted our time here for 8 hours waiting for a ghost to talk to us, Thomas. That would be preposterous.
That would be, yeah, ludicrous.
Oh, yeah, that's real. That's all legit. Yeah, that's actually happening.
Ghost stories, that's
Yeah,
a real thing.
yeah, it's 7:30, they're gonna start out, and this was inspired because members of the Dodge County Historical Society Board, they'd get together for Christmas parties and everything like that, and eventually they'd all start swapping stories about weird things that have happened to them in this building, and there's some similarities, some of them are unique, but either way, it all kind of culminates in this Ghost Story Festival. It starts at 7:30. It's going to be, they built a stage outside the Historical Society, between the chamber and here. You're invited to bring a lawn chair. It's family friendly. There's going to be refreshments. Again, part of the whole Arts and Peony Festival that's going on. And, you know, I could guarantee it 99% you'll probably see an actual ghost.
Yeah, and they were actually doing dress rehearsals with the ghosts before we arrived.
Yeah, and
Patrick
then,
said they had just finished up.
and then that's when the ghosts left.
Right, so there's a good chance that they dismissed them early.
Yeah.
And forgot we were
I
going to
think the ghosts just don't like us. I think that's what
be.
it
It
is.
could very well be.
Yeah.
We're so charming, I don't see the issue.
Mhm.
Not yet. We'll go back and listen to the video again, see if we can hear it on the video, see if anybody can pick it up. If we can't, then, you know, it's undebunkable.
Or, as Thomas suggested, we may uncover a tens of thousands of dollars in potential future plumbing issues.
There
that
could
we're
be a
gonna have.
serious structural damage to this building, or we might just have saved the Historical Society hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so we will analyze this audio and find out and get to the bottom of it. I can neither confirm nor deny
No, that was not the smell.
Sherry's
I
alcohol
mean, she
intake.
did tell us when she was on her way here that she was only like 2 blocks away, which is about where Uga is.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's true. That is true. Uga's got live music as part of the Arts and Peony Festival going on this weekend throughout downtown Beaver Dam and the surrounding areas, along with the Thirsty Beaver. The Dodge County Historical Society is located right next to the Beaver Dam Police Station. It's at the intersection of Park Avenue and South Spring Street.
105 Park Avenue.
And you apparently can't get pizza delivered here, just saying.
I started getting loopy around 4 a.m.
I'm getting a Z.
I'm heading out the door now so I can make it back in time for the 7:05 news.
And remember, tired driving is just as bad as intoxicated driving, so you
Wow.
up first.
I'm 4 times
Oh,
over the
geez.
limit then.
Ouch.
Oh,
You know that's not possible.
I can do it. I can do it, Thomas. Awkward pauses, that's when you hear shushes.
fine.
That's what we should do next time. Spend the night at the Humane Society.
Guess your name, ghost dog?
Oh, man.
Arf, arf.
That's how we should start the next segment with Rick. Well, Rick, we agreed to spend the whole night at the DCHS. We thought it was the Humane Society.
Yeah.
We thought we'd play with dogs all night, petting kittens. That's
The
great.
puppies.
That's perfect.
Boy, were we wrong. Oh, he switched to spin?
Oh, you did.
Oh. So Rick is gonna make fun of Sherry when Sherry gets in.
She's not going to get in today.
Oh, she's not?
Yeah, she's pretty much already called it off. So spooked by my smelling stale cigarette smoke.
I get it, that's tough,
Boy, that first hour, the cigarette smoke,
right?
the shushing,
Sound.
the sound, the EMF detectors
Right,
kind of going off,
right.
maybe, kind of, but a lot sometimes, and then others times, not so much.
Well, it's interesting how, you know, they're 2 different models. They're set to kind of detect at slightly different levels.
Like vertical and horizontal.
I mean, like, you know, like decibel levels are accepted with electromagnetic fields.
Oh, that's what you meant.
But, yeah. It's,
Who uses awnings anymore?
Oh, he's calling on us.
Is he?
Yes. Hi, we're live here at the Dodge County Historical Society, 105 Park Avenue. We just spent the night here, Ninja, Thomas and me.
I didn't see any awnings outside. I don't need one now. Oh,
Hi,
hi,
Jennifer.
We did.
Mostly.
We did. We are intact.
All my limbs are here.
No, well, we have one unconfirmed situation.
Right.
We were able to debunk some situations. Yeah. And this is an old library.
And this is when Craig was talking. Sharon.
We were freaked out for about an hour, though.
We were. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's where we're spending our time
What
next.
summer club is that? Schaumburg's?
Schaumburg's is haunted?
I've never heard.
Are the owners of Schaumburg's aware of this?
Do we know they're haunted? Oh, people not paying their tabs.
Do you think that could happen in a 10-hour period if we were to spend 10 hours there? Oh. That's a good idea.
Well, actually, we're thinking about the whole week.
Yeah. That's
Open
good.
hours and closed hours, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm going to need you to handle news next week, Rick. Oh,
It's a ghostly siren.
yeah, but he might need some rest. We need you to, and I'm going to need you also to host community comment. It's a ghost siren.
Yeah. Being drawn by horses.
I think lack of sleep might also be helpful too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I'm already seeing things like beavers over there.
Nice beaver.
Bye, Jim.
Nothing but real ghosts here, that's for sure. That is true.
30.
Mhm. Yeah, right, they built a stage outside the Dodge County Historical Society between the chamber and here. Public's invited out,
Mhm.
family friendly.
Bring a chair or a blanket so you have someplace to sit
They'll
and
have
enjoy
the
the show.
shows. Shh. Mary.
Well, that is actually the case, yeah. The story that was, again, written by a professional, internationally acclaimed playwright who's written plays for the Olympics, who's written plays for the Kennedy Center. She's written one that kind of ties in all of the stories that have been accumulated around the history. I'm not reading anything on that sheet you're showing me, Thomas. All the stories that have been collected around the Historical Society from board members, from people that worked here, from all the history, some of the items that are in here are all kind of incorporated into that. Again, it's family friendly, so you can bring the whole family out. The weather's supposed to be just absolutely gorgeous tonight. And there's so many things going on in Beaver Dam. Just this weekend with the Arts and P&E Festival, you've You've got Fred McMurray's mural being painted over at the Beaverham Area Community Theater tomorrow morning, starting at 10 a.m. And the public is invited to do that, to actually paint something that is going to go on the wall for as long as it could possibly be up there.
Yeah, I think we heard like first 100 people to paint a tile, essentially that'll be incorporated in.
And Stephen Bennett is the guy who bought the old community theater building, and he's an internationally known portrait artist who's done presidents and movie stars and you know, a lot of
Presidents and
famous
people.
stars, famous people, yeah, a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
So, that's not the only thing that's going on. I mean, you can go to the Ovens Farm for their peonies tour. You've got Ooga Brewing, Thirsty Beaver all have live music. There's a comedian playing at the Riverfront Wine Bar. The Dodge County Center for the Arts has got a big quilt exhibit going on. A lot of stuff going on in Beaver Dam.
Yeah, that's starting at 9:10.
Yeah. Honor Flight's also going out tomorrow too, so if you're looking for something to do in the evening tomorrow, maybe you spend a lot of time in Beaver Dam, you want to head over to Madison, welcome back the 95 veterans that are going to be returning from that flight, the third of 6 flights that are going to be taking place here in 2022. That's another great opportunity. The summer's getting up into full swing here now, post-Memorial Day.
Absolutely.
The dairy brunch.
42nd
Pullman
annual
Farm.
dairy brunch.
Yeah, and we just had on my community comment yesterday, some fascinating stories there. Of course, as always, invite you to go to DailyDodge.com and get all the details. That's where you can watch the video. You might be listening to the morning show right now, but you're like,
right now.
hey,
Watch us.
I want to see Ninja and Thomas and Craig, and there may be a ghost that pops up in the next 2.5 hours. Who knows?
Look at the bags under your eyes.
Oh my gosh, you look tired.
Yep. Yeah. I love you too, Rick.
Bye, Ray.
Sherry.
What the hell are we going to do at 6:50 with them now? Oh, it is. Oh, well, that was the 6:50 break.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
you said it right. You didn't go into the Phantom Smell, so you still have that.
Yes,
Oh,
we
wow.
still have that phantom smell in our back pocket.
Right.
That doesn't sound right.
That's our ace in the hole.
Don't say it's the whole after that.
So we get 20 minutes now.
We got 20 more minutes. Oh my gosh.
I was
No,
like,
we've
we
got
didn't get around to
2
using your blue
hours.
balls.
My blue
Farm
balls.
the ground out
Talk
there.
about that.
They were outside.
Can we see your blue balls?
Yeah, you want to look at them?
Show the camera.
It's a fresh one.
You haven't even taken the
It
seal off
hasn't even
yet.
opened yet.
No.
So what exactly made these ones different?
They don't have any felt to them, I guess?
So you're saying they're unfelted blue balls.
Right. I mean, Carl, the guy that called in, was really adamant that we get these balls. But there's no friction to them. Which, I thought the ping pong balls were even better because they're the same thing, only lighter.
Right.
I'm sorry, did you say there's no friction to them?
Yeah.
What in the world of physics does that mean?
There's no friction, like they're not felted, you know?
I think friction is an outside force.
Well, I mean,
He's got some good balls.
friction stops things as well. So it's not necessarily an outside force always, but
Maybe friction is the wrong word.
right.
Are you
There's-
thinking of, what is that, like an impedance?
Yeah, I think there's probably less friction on this material than what the felt would provide. Although they feel like, you know,
Yeah, there's some good feeling. Oh,
apparently they're explosive.
Yeah, they're longer lasting and have bursting speed.
Yeah, well, hey,
bursting speed.
not my experience, but
I've never played with racquetballs before.
Have you ever played racquetball?
No. Maybe that's the connection.
that could be. I also have not played.
Do you want to just hold on to my ball? You can. Oh, that's fine.
Oh, were you trying to, it's like a stress ball, it's kind of,
Yeah,
No,
I just have that feeling.
it's a fidget feeling. Yeah, I'm done with it now.
Oh, okay.
Now that you put away the can.
That's my
Yeah.
cold set balls.
See, now we can't do this on the radio, but we can talk about your racket
Balls.
device
Yeah.
there and be as blue as we want about it.
Totally, just like the
So-
souls.
You obviously weren't on air yet at the time, and you also weren't, but we were doing the entertainment news on 95X yesterday. And I found myself having to explain two acronyms, one of which Sherry knew, but she was talking about Kim Kardashian dating Pete Davidson. And I
She
guess-
is?
Yeah. Right. But
Up on my Kardashian
Right.
news, I'll
I
have.
should have known, yeah. But I guess she finally said that the reason why she decided to give him a shot is because she had heard stories about him and his BDE, which Rick did not know what that stood for. And at the time, she was like, what the heck, I'm DTF.
Which Rick
And
also did
Sherry did not know what that one meant.
Oh, okay.
So I had to explain it in terms, which you know me, I sometimes have an issue with filtering between the two stations.
Oh, God.
So I had to be like, oh, well, BDE is big equipment energy.
Oh, that's what the E's for.
Right. And, and I was like, DTF is down to copulate.
Yes.
And then they finally understood what was going on. But Rick then thanked me for explaining it in old people terms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
It's on the copulate.
Which, the mindset of that being the reasoning for deciding to date somebody, it's weird.
They're so together.
It's a
Yeah.
lot better when you really get jiggy with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, doesn't like every woman love Pete Davidson? That's what I've heard.
Right, for some reason, which probably has to do with that equipment energy we were discussing, I guess.
Yes, but that doesn't seem to be because it's not like there's even pictures of him on the internet, are there?
Not that I'm aware of, but, you know,
I can
He's
confirm
dated.
that there are no.
right. Didn't he date like Ariana Grande and?
Yes, I believe he was accused of being extra grande.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, rumors spread. I mean, everybody's heard the rumor about Liam Neeson.
What?
What's the rumor about Liam
Haven't
Neeson?
heard the rumor about Liam Neeson?
No.
That
He's a great actor.
he and
He is a great
Davidson
actor.
apparently have something in common, and it's not their acting skills.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah, because Pete Davidson's not a great actor.
right.
I mean, I can't imagine him even being like, I will find you and I will kill you. I would just laugh.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't work. But with Liam Neeson, you believe it.
Yeah, you absolutely believe it.
2 more hours, only 2 more hours.
2 more hours.
We're doing great.
Dude,
Why are we?
in the home stretch.
And who knows? Anything could happen. Book drop, book. Anywhere?
Screaming.
And it'll happen the second we stop the video camera.
And we're done.
Right.
Ah! You kidding me?
Stomach issues.
Is it? Lucky you.
It's not like it feels off.
Did you eat anything? You could just be hungry.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You want some Mountain Dew?
No. I discussed with him about it dissolving a rat.
Yeah, that killed my appetite a little too.
A what?
So a man tried to sue.
Oh, because of a dissolved rat found in
Well, because he said he found a rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
His defense was that's not possible if there was a rat there, it would be dissolved.
Yeah, 'cause it was like a 30-day period, and it's like there would be no rat anymore in there. And it's like,
I imagine that you'd still have some sort of like remnant or something.
you'd think so, but that's not
Like
what they
a
said.
color change. It would come out looking more like RC Cola than Mountain Dew. Like,
So I can tell you this story. A young 11, 12-year-old Craig and his buddy Mike one day decided we wanted to see what beer tasted like in my dad's basement. And my dad does not drink beer at home. So very rarely, only if guests come over.
right.
So what we decided to do, we were gonna pop the top, but only just enough to get it open, just a hair, and then we're gonna sip some out of there.
Gotcha.
And that's what we did. We each like, ooh, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. Of course, it might have been my headphones too.
Now, was this back when the Pop Tops were different? Like they were more like pull tab,
No.
or were they to normal?
But it was probably like right after that, and it might have even been during that transitional phase.
Okay.
So it was about that era. But no, it was the top that we know today. So we did that, we did it, popped it, we sipped it, we didn't like it, put it back, you know, because maybe he counted it, we didn't know.
Right.
So like, I don't know, a few months later, my uncle stops by the house and it's like, my dad offers some beers, like, sure, Charlie, I'll have a beer. They sit down, they have a beer. My uncle opens the can and it doesn't make a popping noise. So he's just like, well, that's funny. And you know, so then my parents start investigating. And eventually they take a can opener and they open up the can of Stroh's and like, honestly, what looked like a dissolved rat was in there. It was just coagulated and moldy and white and purple, and there was some liquid, and it was just awful.
Yeah, because there's still some like active yeast products in beer. Yeah.
Exactly. So here I am, just like, I'm not saying a word, you know? And so my parents are calling the company, and the company's like, yeah, no, that's not right. They didn't like screw them out of it or anything. They're like, oh, it's probably a glove, I think is what the company said.
Oh.
So by the way, Stroh's is not brewed anymore, maybe because of these reasons. But so yeah, like they sent my dad a few cases of Stroh's, and I think I told him, like, you know, when I was 21 finally or something, like, hey, remember that can of Stroh's? It had the glove in it? That wasn't a glove.
He's like, well, we got some free beers. So.
Yeah, a few free beers out of it.
Worked out.
So the lesson here, Kyra, is
Don't sneak beer.
don't sneak beer.
We don't tend to keep beer in the house.
Beer is gross.
We have some wine coolers.
Wine coolers are gross.
Yeah.
Who's drinking wine coolers?
I mean, I love my wife, but the time she's basically. If she's listening, she'll probably agree. She would tell stories about how
Then you're
they, you know, her and her friends would be like, oh, it's a weekend, and they were all living together, so they'd go buy as much Barefoot brand wine as
No,
they could.
that's not a wine cooler.
Well, no. And then they would also pick up like wine coolers and like some Seagrams and stuff or whatever.
Good old Seagrams.
And then they would
had
sit
them.
on an old couch in their garage and drink until they ran out of alcohol. Because in Arizona, when it's hot, apparently you have nothing else to do with that.
Just one couch.
Yeah. There's three of them, so I mean, why have couches? It's a cushion for everybody.
You know, Arizona though, I want like arm's length
See, I feel
away.
the same way.
And that's gotta be hot. I was just in Texas, and it was just.
See, in Houston, that was my biggest issue. Like, people are nice, I love people, people are great. But their personal normal space is almost non-existent.
Ninja, Thomas and Craig here live from the Dodge County Historical Society, where we just spent the entire night with all types of paranormal equipment. We had paranormal investigators join us. We had local historians join us. Shortly, we're going to be hearing from the curator of the Dodge County Historical Society Museum, Kurt Sampson, will be in to give us his insight and share some of the spooky stories that he's experienced here over the many years.
Laughs, screams, tears, we've experienced it all.
You'll laugh, you'll cry. You're on the 95X Morning Show.
Most likely just cry.
Probably a lot of little
Lots
crying.
of tears,
A lot of
actually.
tears of yawning. I've got yawning tears.
Oh, yeah, I've been.
A lot of yawning tears
Yeah.
going on.
I
They got
yawn
those
earlier.
ones.
Yeah, I had one of those.
You did, you had a big yawn.
It was a big yawn.
Rick, we want to be part of entertainment news with you.
Tell us stories.
Yeah, we, no. Come on, just tell us a story. Like, what's the lead story?
Tell us about
What?
Pete Davidson.
How could you not have entertainment news?
You just previewed it.
Well, we don't have the entertainment here. We're hoping for you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Well,
I mean, we thought we were going to the Humane Society, so we were expecting puppies.
yeah,
Instead-
DCHS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, we wound up at the historical. I think maybe the Humane Society's waiting for us.
Instead, we got portraits of dead people.
Yeah, there's
Right.
sad cats now.
There's some war memorabilia. How do you feel about that?
Mhm. And you know anything that's going on with Kim Kardashian or anything, Rick? We did, yeah. We had paranormal investigator Zelia Edgar.
Right. Who's also an author.
Who's also an author. She's published a book, Just Another Tinfoil Hat Presents. It's a collection of
She has a
odd
YouTube
stories.
series as well.
Yeah, by the same name.
Another tinfoil
Just
hat.
another tinfoil hat,
And she came with some of her electromagnetic frequency detectors and
And also came
Anyways,
loaded with a lot of really good information from a lot of time spent researching these sorts of things.
yeah, she's very, very
She's a walking
articulate and insightful person. We could have talked to her all night. It was quite fascinating. I mean, we could talk to her because no ghosts were talking to us. So,
Well, yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, you know, like Pete Venkman in Ghostbusters.
Right, kind of like a PKE
Oh,
meter.
that was a PKE meter?
But ours is EMF. So
Oh.
just different letters. Yeah.
What does PKE stand for?
What is PK?
Why didn't we have one of those? That's probably why we didn't see any ghosts, because we didn't have PKE detector.
And I'm trying to remember. It's something kinetic energy, I think.
All right.
Paranormal kinetic energy, I believe is the
Yeah,
same
makes
sort of-
sense to me, that's what I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead, we just had a standard electromagnetic field.
We did find some unusual electromagnetic field activity. Yeah. Feedback from, yeah, right. Mm-hmm. All night long.
Yeah.
She was the cream in our paranormal Oreo.
Oh.
I did not, but Thomas, because you know me, Rick. I did not, but Thomas, tell it. Why don't you? Did you and Ninja do it, or was it just you?
I mean, yeah, we were
You did one
together.
by yourself, and then we did one.
Yeah.
Two of them together. Kind
So
of.
I went first by myself, and that's when you guys were interviewing Roger Knoll, talking about the history of
Right.
the.
So
the
fascinating. Did you know, for example, Rick, that beautiful Swan Park? You know, with they're redoing all the lagoons out there. Are you looking at my armpit here?
No, I'm looking at you,
All right.
dude.
So in the 60s, I guess, they had something called Monkey Island. It was just an island of monkeys out in a cage in the middle of, yeah, there's
Oh,
pictures of it here.
That's
Isn't
the
it?
craziest part, though. Just wait, Rick.
Yeah, so, but they had to shut it down because a monkey escaped and attacked a boy and it bit him.
Yes,
This is-
it's totally serious.
This is, you don't make up things in a
There's a
museum.
cage
Photo
of
of
Monkey
Monkey
Island.
Island,
Yeah.
Yeah, Monkey Island, yeah, right here in
Actual
Beaver Dam,
place.
Wisconsin. They were not flying monkeys as far as we know, but they flew the coop pretty quick after they bit that kid, it sounds like.
I mean, consider that monkey had to not only break out of that cage, but it had to swim the lagoon just to bite a kid.
It was like
Yeah.
monkey Alcatraz.
Right?
But this is all a true story, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about Arizona. Weird. What?
What?
Who hosted the want-ins and didn't tell us about that? That's ridiculous.
That would have been John Kraft.
Oh, John Kraft. Paging John Kraft, make sure you... Now it's too late. He probably had a PKE.
You probably did.
Oh,
No. That's why we couldn't pick up any of that telekinetic energy. Dang it.
telekinetic.
On Earth?
I'm just an idiot, it's fine.
The Baraboo Bar haunting.
No, I'm not
No,
saying
I've
no.
never heard of it, no. Oh, Brandon.
I mean, there's a lot of different explanations for what they could be. They could be energy. In some cases, it could just be dust floating in front of the camera. So sometimes they're debunkable, sometimes they're not. We did have a camera set up specifically looking for them, because we were told that other paranormal investigators had seen orbs here in the corner where they have the display about one of the local individuals who was involved in the execution of the Lincoln assassination conspirators. So we had a camera in that direction all night. I went to it periodically. As far as I know, it didn't pick up any orbs.
Will you be reviewing the footage?
Yeah, I'll be checking back on all that at some point.
So we could find out that we've been surrounded by ghosts the whole time and have no idea.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because that
Wow.
camera's also looking at a bunch of dolls in a case by itself.
Right.
You know,
That's very
who knows?
They could have moved.
Yeah.
Could you
winked
judge
at the camera.
if the dolls moved by like a millimeter? Would you be able to detect that?
I probably wouldn't notice it in my watch back, but
Okay.
you never know.
Because there is a story here. There is a prosthetic arm that Dr. Swan had made for somebody who kept on falling into electrical lines or something.
Apparently he
Yeah.
lost his arm falling into electrical line
Yeah.
while working
Wasn't
on
it
a
those
dam
times?
somewhere.
But apparently this prosthetic arm, what did they say?
They said it moves. Like people will come in and be like, "Oh, the other day this was way more pressed up against the wood. Now it's pushed towards the middle of the case." And so we've taken a couple of photos of it throughout the course of the night to see if it looks like it's moved at all. We'll have to go back and look at those and see. But
And then one time it escaped and it bit a boy, and now they're not able to have it anymore.
right.
Oh wait, that was Monkey Island. Sorry.
Yes.
Sarakana, I'm coming for you. Yeah.
I mean,
It was eye-opening.
it was an educational evening, that's for sure. We got to learn a lot, and we talked to a lot of great people, a lot of good information.
For sure.
And you know, with the EVP sessions that me and Thomas did, you know, a lot of times you don't know if you picked up any voices until you go back and listen to it again.
That's what Rick was asking. I don't,
Yeah.
Did we explain that how you did that, what that process
Right,
is like?
so essentially, like Thomas said, at one point you went up there and you set up the recorder and you read some Edgar Allan Poe,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing gave pauses to see if there was a response or anything that you might have picked up.
I started pausing in the middle, and then I got really into it, and it was a weird story. It was talking about this guy's like nice legs and his calves and his teeth, and I was like, "This is really crap. I don't know if the ghost is gonna like this," but I kept reading it anyway.
So we'll go back and see if maybe there was a ghost who was getting excited by it. Thought it was great, great literature. But we also did another one near the war memorabilia, near the one-room schoolhouse display. We did one down here by the Lincoln Conspirator display. Just asking questions and seeing if maybe we'll be able to pick up an answer in the listening back to the recording.
So we were quiet for a little bit. It was hard. That was
We
very
tried to
hard.
wait till he was gone. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a good one. Right.
Love that
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, I'm glad you brought that up because I think it would just be easier for us to get the bunk beds and bring them over to the radio station and try to sleep in the bunk beds than it would be to go
Yeah.
to somebody's house. I mean, the thing about this place is that it's like super cool and you could be in here for days and not see the same thing twice.
Yeah.
I think if you go to somebody's house and, I think you better have like a movie queued up and some
Right.
potato chips available because I think that could get kind of boring. just
Popcorn
waiting
and
for-
Harry Potter while you wait.
Right.
Oh, that sounds nice.
I think we should have done that, yeah.
There's a projection screen behind us.
There
We
is.
could have, and they have a projector.
Right.
We could have been watching movies the entire
That's
time.
how Greg and Cindy made the ghosts in that episode of the Brady Bunch. Oh no, it was a UFO.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Right.
I mean, it's still paranormal, right?
They did.
Oh.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
So you forgot to
Good
get
times
those
with the
straight.
Brady Bunch.
What a great show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I haven't heard about any. And there's people living in the Rogers all the time.
And when the librarian moved out from here,
She moved
that's where she moved to.
to the Rogers.
Patrick told us when he was giving us the tour that there was a section of the Rogers Hotel that was only for single ladies,
Really?
and they had kind of like a dorm mom type person who would watch over it, and it was secured. It was locked off, so it wasn't accessible by people
Huh.
who didn't live in that section.
Right.
Because it would be kind of frowned upon for a single lady to be living by herself, but let alone living in a hotel space.
Mhm. Yeah, but no, that's not one. I've not heard about any scary stories coming out of the Rogers Hotel. You hear a lot about the old community theater building, the Horicon place. But other than that, not a whole terrible lot. But I think everybody's had their own individual. Not everybody. Sorry, did I say that out loud? I think a lot of people, some people, a certain number of people have had weird experiences, and as we've been talking about it, they've been calling in to break time. They've been sharing those experiences on social media, stopping by and telling us about them. Pat Lutz, one of the board members here on the Historical Society board, shared some of his unexplained kind of coincidences and things like that.
And when you talk about the number of people that have had experiences here at the Historical Society, a lot of them are here multiple times a month or multiple times a year for long hours working on projects. And so, sometimes it's not about being here at any time, it's about being here at the right time.
Plus, they don't have the technology necessarily in place, though they do have cameras here to debunk something like the way we were able to debunk something that we created
Right.
unknowingly. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
I heard that one.
That is interesting. And I'm sure there's a lot of places like that. Maybe, maybe other listeners want to call in and suggest a place for Rick to spend the night.
Or if you happen to be a listener and you've captured something you want to share with us, if you got a photo, a video that you captured of something paranormal, want to share it, we'd love to see it.
And we're streaming live right now on DailyDodge.com. We're pushing that to the Daily Dodge Facebook page. You can feel free to leave a comment. We haven't checked the social media all night. That's probably something we should have done.
Right, I kind of
We'll catch up on it.
we didn't have a lot of comments. Most of the people were watching on Daily Dodge.
Great.
And we did have views. People were watching. It wasn't, just Rick at home.
Humans, living, breathing
I'm
people.
assuming.
Okay. All right.
Unfortunately, Daily Dodge doesn't tell me how many viewers are paranormal and how many are real.
Ooh, that is a
It's
challenge.
like so.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
You mean you don't think about me at home, Rick? I'm insulted.
Oh, man. You should have stayed up late. I mean, I know you don't stay up late for like a Packers game that goes past 9 o'clock, but you could have stayed up until 3 in the morning watching the hijinks unroll here.
Yeah.
Like 11.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I got back from this running over to the station, just there in the last hour or so, I've turned my loop setting on. Mhm. Right, yeah. Yeah, I punted on that one.
No, you opened the door and that kind of scared me a little bit.
Yeah, and that is the thing. Yeah, we had people that we know were coming here
Right.
stop by, and just their mere showing up like freaked us all out.
Right.
We were on high alert though, I think, most of the night.
We definitely were. We were hoping for things.
Sweet. All right. Oh. Sounds
No.
familiar.
Hmm.
Oh.
was the teacher.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Mr. Shoot.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shoot. Mm.
Oh, no.
Oh. Mr. Shoot.
All
Does it
right.
have, all right.
It's really ambiguous.
Yeah, it really is. Did have the producers come forward and said that anything about, yeah, that is the message, or they confirmed, denied anything? Right?
Do we know anything else about his behavior on the show, like how he acted towards her, like any other context?
Well, I'll say this. He's judging multiple dancers, right? So they're all of a high caliber. What is it that set this one apart from the rest? Did she have some particular dance technique that this choreographer would like? I would think any one of the dancers might be
Right.
referable to this choreographer friend of his.
Well, and he did say that they both had the same mutual respect for a particular choreographer.
Oh,
So maybe he felt there was a link there.
oh.
And so he was like, well, because you like them and I like them.
Oh, that was part of the text message? I thought that was
So that was
in-
part of his thoughts after the fact.
Right, the text message ended with his phone number, and that was it, right? Or was all that stuff that you said after that, that was also part of the text message?
And
And that's it? To
Right.
justify.
Right, and I think,
Well, how does he text her if he knows her phone number already? I assume he inboxed her.
well, and it could be one of those things where it could have been a, hey, this is your number, but before I continue to use it, continue to communicate with you through this number.
That's not what he said, though.
Right, but, people not, like, generations that are more in touch than Thomas and younger, than you and I, communicate a little bit differently. But to me, this sounds, you're welcome. This sounds more like one of those instances where the subject sending the message dictates in the mind of the receiver how it's taken. So for instance, if me and Thomas are both at a bar, I walk up to
Hey there, handsome.
and I walk up to a very attractive young lady and I say, hey, can I buy you a drink? She might look at me and go, ew, no. And to her now, that was a creepy statement. But if Thomas walks up to her with his new haircut, looking all snazzy, and he's like, hey, can I buy you a drink?
Can I get your number?
She might look at him and go, oh, he's kind of attractive. And to her, that is no longer a sleazy statement, but we both said the same thing. So her perceived, yeah,
But, and
I mean, that's true, I do come across as much less threatening, and I look like a cuddly teddy bear.
And to reverse my statement from earlier, just to kind of get the opposite view of that, he's already got a way to communicate with her.
Right.
He's already communicated, whatever method that is.
Right.
He can already reach out to her. Why would he verbally need to reach out to her?
Now, the other option we might not be taking into consideration is they might, as judges, have the ability to
Email or something?
direct message, like an email messaging system with people, whereas text messaging is considered personal and outside the show. And so the issue might be like more that they don't want him communicating outside the show with somebody while the show's going on.
Yeah, why is he doing that while the show's going on? That's
Right.
it's not sound judgment.
It's a little unprofessional.
Very unprofessional.
Ooh, okay.
That's,
It's 3 weeks.
I mean, it's not really super surprising. Nowadays, everything goes to DVD faster anyways. And, I mean,
DVD, what's that?
right? And Disney's been really pushing for, you know, oh, we feel like our box office sales have hit a stagnation. Maybe they haven't dropped, but they're also not growing. And so let's just throw on Disney Plus and get a few more subscriptions out of it.
Oh, that's.
Really?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Didn't he already return for something?
So he's supposed to be returning in the Flash movie
Right.
with
that's
Ezra
right.
Miller
Yeah.
to reprise his role as Batman. And I believe Ben Affleck is also reprising his role as Batman.
And doing a multiverse thing?
Right.
It seems that way.
Which is something, I
So
mean, for
popular,
anybody
yeah.
who's followed
Well,
the
that's a
Flash.
good way
fleet-
of erasing the Batfleck from history.
Right, exactly.
Pat Fleck.
I mean, and also setting up potentially Robert Pattinson's Batman as being the current
Yeah.
multiverse Batman or DCEU Batman.
He preferred the
Um,
one you give your phone number to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for flipping us off, Rick. Yeah, no, I think we should have the curator on here, maybe in the next half hour or so. We hope to see him. Kurt Sampson, curator of the Dodge County Historical Society Museum, in to talk about the Ghost Story Fest tonight, Dodge County Historical Society, 7:30.
Little. At least he moved on from these. So you got a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, but we did get a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, currently.
Currently, that's true.
I mean, for all we know, I'm going to go back and we're going to get somebody who, in the middle of, you know, Thomas reading Edgar Allan Poe, is just like, nevermore.
Stop! Stop!
Hey, wait, Kyra, do you smoke cigarettes? I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you smoke cigarettes?
No, I'm gonna have the answer to that question related to the surgery.
But they also want to know if she's pregnant.
Kyra, are you pregnant?
No.
Oh, okay.
They give me like a whole list of things, and they're like, you know, check off if she has any of these. So I look over at her, I'm like, do you have epilepsy or have your gallbladder removed? She's like, no. And I'm like, are you diabetic or have Alzheimer's? No. Like, you haven't done an organ recipient, have you? Really, Dad? And she's kind of in pain, and I'm like, I get it, you hurt, but at the same time, how do I not make these jokes?
Oh, we've been flipped off.
I don't know. Well, we should return a favor at some point.
don't think we're going until 7:50.
I don't know, you sent out the schedule.
You have better access than I do.
I might. PEV.
Richard?
Hey, dude.
Hey, dude.
Do me a favor and send me a text or whatever, and let me know when, the curator's gonna be there. I didn't realize that, you're not back on the, 8:50, but by 7:50. So, if they show up any earlier, let me know.
Yeah, we'll keep you in contact.
All right, cool. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, Kurt's an interesting guy. And he's seriously a wealth of knowledge. He's probably one of the foremost mound experts in Wisconsin.
Was
It's his
he,
area of study.
he was the guy who did the community comment we did here.
We've done it. Yes, yeah, right. Yeah,
We
you've met him before.
Yeah, because at that
Yeah.
point in time, all this stuff was
It's
on
over
display
there.
over there.
Yeah, and some of the stuff up there was down there
Right.
too. Which I think it looks a lot better now. It was much more cluttered before. We were really crammed in there.
Yeah, and it was hard to see everything.
The Rambler was over here, so they
And that doesn't make a lot of sense.
put it there.
How long has he been with the society?
Well, they had a longtime curator named Mary Beth Jacobson who had stepped down probably about 10, she's probably been here about 10 years now. And he seems like the new guy. Boy, have I been here long. I guess I don't really.
I'm saying, because it's probably at least 2 years, because it was pre-COVID, so 3 years maybe.
Yeah, it was like one of the last videos we did before COVID.
Right.
We were just ramping up to do stuff like that. But yeah, we were really constricted in our ability to broadcast within here. I mean, how long did it take us to set this up? Like an hour? I don't know how many times we would be able to,
I mean, yeah.
because we don't have something running to the camera right now. So
No,
we have to have
just
it.
feeding off the mic.
So how, I guess I've just been up too long. I don't remember how I hooked up the Comrex, the camera and the microphone the Comrex, the mixer and the camera. What do we just use that for something?
I mean, the only thing I think is if you go from, you'd have to go from the Comrex into the mixer into the camera. I think.
Right, so we would need to take the out from, I don't know why we weren't able to do that, why we didn't get that figured out. Because we're doing which ones are out? Oh, it's an in. Oh, you're saying we do it from the Comrex out? Oh, yeah, that's what we were.
That freaked me out for a second, Thomas.
What was that?
That was the old RCA maker.
That is literally the exact sound of the knife coming down in Psycho. You know that, right?
So that's what they used?
That's what they used for that sound.
Screeching it?
Yeah. So that threw me for a second there. I was like, shower curtain?
Channel E, all right.
Yeah, I will say, for those people who weren't watching the stream yesterday, I mean, that first hour, there was
Right.
riveting stuff going on. It was fun.
We had about 130 tune-ins. Look, nobody stayed the entire time. We had people drop in and out, but according to the thing, we had about 130 unique IDs pop in. So that's good. I mean, that's not bad considering we have some sporting events people don't seem to want to tune into sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, we have a few that don't get.
I thought sporting events all rack up at least now.
And this is the thing, the start of the season, like the first softball game of the season, we'll get 100, 120. And then the second softball game will be double that. And then we'll hit a nice peak for like softball. Baseball, same thing. First one, people are like, because they don't know how they're doing yet. Yeah, it's still early. And once they see how the teams establish themselves, then they pick up. Basketball, on the other hand, like right from the beginning, the get-go. But when you have
It's like what, 500?
back to back to back, yeah. you know, state championships, people tune in for stuff like that. And you see higher views.
I thought we had 9 unique viewings, logging, so that's great to hear.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Tyler's not in here,
Kyra, are you in the bathroom?
make sure nobody, floats in here.
We'll float, Craig.
Kyra, where are you?
This is weird.
She said she's upstairs.
Did you see that? I'll check on
My child's just wandering off on her own in a place that could be haunted. She was upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not for making me think she was a ghost. Unintentional, of course.
Craig didn't use the restroom. We're like, we hope, you know.
I grabbed these off the table and I went to you and pointed it that way.
Can't so good at paying attention to my children. Oh, horrible father. And I'm sure they got picked up by all the microphones, so now everybody knows.
I got to get that listening
Why does my heart feel so bad? Why does my heart feel so bad?
So Hattie Doolittle must have been one stinky lady because there's no shower in this place.
There may be a hose out back?
I mean, unless there was like a claw-like tub somewhere.
YMCA here in like the early 1920s?
I tell you what, there was a YWCA tennis court at my house.
At your house?
My house was the YWCA tennis courts. I had a YWCA
Camera 2's upstairs, right?
thing,
There were 3 of them.
like a signage type of thing.
So
And
all over breaking.
I was told that that's because the tennis courts for the YWCA were at my house. But I'm not having any confirmation on that. Roger Knoll apparently doesn't know, so that must not have existed. But apparently there was a YWCA. There was a very old YMCA. I can't, everybody said, oh, my house was built in 1906, so I don't know how there would be a tennis court there unless it was behind that. I don't know.
Your house is over your house.
How long has you heard of it?
1901.
Wow. How thick are your walls, or the foundation of the walls? I just have balloon house, wood frame balloon house.
Our first floor is crazy. Like, there's a bay window off of our entryway and laundry room area, and the walls are thick enough that they just put a bench in the bottom of the window because the walls are just
guess. Yes, and I cannot tell you, I spent hours and hours and hours on Google.
I bet.
And you know what, nothing weird came up. Really? No, I swear to God.
Huh.
Swear to God.
Meanwhile, I remember being in high school and getting yelled at because I got asked to report the topic I picked was the Minutemen in the Revolutionary War. So I was Yahoo and I typed in Minutemen, and I apparently did not put the spacing in the right place or something, because I immediately got Mr. Wolski, your search history, and I'm like, fifth grade.
I don't even know what that means that I'm 40.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's 40.
Is anybody monitoring the
No.
radio? Rick's probably like, hey guys, what are you talking about? Minutemen?
Great, if you know, you know.
It's Wade.
It's Wade. He's talking about the types of slushies his daughters had.
Oh, nice. Gary, you can switch back to camera feed 1.
Oh, Dairy Queen.
Why did she leave the blank?
I found one set of batteries lasts the whole night. I'm talking into this to talk to you guys, just so you know.
That's phenomenal.
That's the way to do it.
It's a good way to do it.
I was expecting, because we did, 3 or 4 live streams on my phone, and I'm still at 35% battery.
Well, apparently you don't send them as stickers, because that's where they drain.
Oh, okay.
The stairs?
I guess either these stairs or those stairs, presumably these stairs. That's Kathy Barnett's daughter.
We went up and down those stairs and.
Well, when I was walking up and down and there was a bell dinging and all, I swear it sounded like it was right there. I heard it out of my right ear as I walked up there.
Which is crazy, because, yeah, there's no speaker over there, there's nothing.
No.
The only place where
Well, there might, I guess, maybe we didn't look in the plugs up there to see if there was one. There could be a second one.
But I imagine as loud as that is, why would you need another one?
Yeah, this place is small enough.
Yeah. And sound does seem to travel here fairly decent.
Does travel
A gateway.
Come on, tell me you can do. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll be on down, don't worry.
We got it.
What was that hosiery brand? The Bear hosiery?
Big Bear.
Big Bear hosiery, yeah.
Something like that. Bear brand.
Bear brand hosiery, that's it.
I will never shut this place down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're thinking about unionizing. All right, I'm shutting it down.
Ever since Wade made the match game a little bit easier for Ryan, he did a story one day. He was like, Ryan discovered that his arms didn't look as good one day after getting out of the shower. So the first thing he did was went to the gym, and the first machine he worked on was this or whatever. And there was this whole story that was like, is this blank? What? And Ryan's like, I don't know. What machines at the gym would I what? And of course the person wanted to match with Ryan, so it did not go over well. So afterwards, Wade's like, I'm gonna have to start sending Ryan the questions early so he has time to think about it. I'm like, just go with simple ones. 1 word blank. 1 word blank. Keep it easy. He's got enough to think about in a day. He doesn't need your story problems.
Oh, so we don't have a fourth mic. And we don't have enough cable for a fourth mic?
We should. Because we unplugged the... Yeah, we should, don't we?
Yeah, this much cable.
That's not enough.
Don't we have a cable here that's not being used for something that's unplugged here?
Oh, we did.
Yeah, what is that going to? It's this long one that's heading back towards the board, isn't it?
Yeah, Craig, where's this one going to?
Hell.
Yeah, good call, Jim.
That one might be going to the portal.
Well, it can't be that important.
It can't be because it's.
Oh, it's not plugged in anything?
So.
We'll just plug this microphone into it there. You have to, either I'll take it or we'll give it to Kurt Sampson.
We'll figure it out. Just sent me a text saying ready.
Check, check, check. It works.
Sure. Oh, we're ready. That's all the way we are.
Wait, oh yeah, we're going to wait, right. So I'll take that and give this to Kurt. We are still.
Yes.
Are we alive? Yes.
Check my pulse. There was something there. Yeah, but the more and more I have to watch Wormhole try and suffer through this,
Oh man, don't
the more likely I am to lose it. He just almost tripped entirely over his headphone cable just to walk 3 feet, turn around, and come back.
I realized my headphones wouldn't make it all the way to the mixing board over there, so I just abandoned that
Yeah, you
plan.
learned that the hard way.
Yeah, that's these are the kind of things that happen when you stay up all night and don't get any sleep.
Hey, you haven't told Wade about your phantom smell.
I have not.
Yeah.
All right, we'll recap them real quick. So we were all talking, and then we stopped, and we heard distinctly somebody go, shh. And we all looked at each other and said, did you hear that?
Right.
And we all did. And
Shared moment.
shared moment. It was like one of 3 things that happened in the first hour. So we were like, oh my God, the whole night is just going to be absolutely insane if this is how the first hour starts.
Which made total sense.
Right.
So the ghost of Hattie Doolittle shushed me in the Williams Free Library.
Right.
But then that was debunked when we figured out that it was just feedback from me saying Sherry, and then not talking, and then we heard a feedback loop, and so there's that. And then there's one that we don't know. We heard a noise in Hattie Doolittle's room. It sounded like, what was it?
Sounded like a fire escape ladder.
Yeah.
Metal fire escape ladder being lowered.
Yeah.
And that has yet to be debunked.
TBD.
Right.
But then, now I have, there's a fire escape on the other side of the building.
Right. But the ladder is, I think the ladder's fixed though, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's like one that moves.
I have not studied the fire escape. I figured we would just not need a fire escape if we
Right.
left. We're close enough to the fire station. I think we'd be okay.
Yeah, good chance of that.
Yeah. So, then I experienced something weird.
Right.
Which unfortunately is something that could neither be confirmed nor denied, and it also may be the power of suggestion, because we had been talking about this. We had Pat and Diane Lutz of the Dodge County Historical Society on Community Comment Tuesday. They mentioned how over the years many people have talked about how they smelled cigarette and cigar smoke, as if somebody was smoking right there in front of them. Now I did not experience that, but at one point I was just like, do one of you guys smoke? And it wasn't because I smelled smoke. It was because I smelled the clear, distinct smell of stale smoke on somebody's clothes.
Right.
Which I found very weird, and I have not smelled again. There are a lot of outfits here at the Dodge County Historical Society, but I'm not necessarily near them. I'm not within whiffing distance.
Right. And I mean, thankfully, you didn't go around just sniffing everybody to find out.
I did not. Yeah.
But,
Although I do still suspect that Sherry may be a closet smoker and just not telling us.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. That's exactly what it smelled like. Hey, Kurt Sampson's just walking in here, in fact. But that's exactly what it smelled like.
Hey.
He is not a ghost. You are a real person.
I'm real.
He is real, yes.
He's
All right,
real.
so we are 0 for 20 on a ghost sighting so far. But we do have Yeah, tonight. Tonight is when the Ghost Story Festival gets underway at 7:30 out in the stage that was built just for this festival between the Chamber and the Historical Society. You've got real life stories being recounted, a lot of cool things, food, family friendly fun.
Popcorn, bring a chair,
Yeah.
bring
Popcorn.
blankets, enjoy the show. Absolutely.
How much
It
time
was
we
written by
got?
Lori Brooks, who was a professional playwright, so it should be a great time.
Yeah, that's right. How much time we got there, Wade? 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. All right.
Is that enough time to point out that I absolutely love the effigy mound, burial mound tattoos
Oh, yes.
on our next guest? And that is a great thing for people who are watching the stream to tune in and see now. Those of you on radio are apparently going to have to wait.
We've got the curator of the Dodge County Historical Society Museum, Kirk Sampson, here with us. And Kirk, we've just got about a minute left, but we'll have a little time to talk here in the next hour. Preview whether or not you've ever experienced any unusual occurrences here. You got about 60 seconds.
Many things have happened here over the last 15 years that I've worked here. Mainly the main thing that really happens, that's consistent, is that the demeanor of this place at night does change. And it usually starts around 7:30-ish maybe. And I've encountered this on many occasions when I've had to work here late for special events and things that we've done. And the best way to describe it is that it just kind of gets really heavy in here, and you kind of feel like you get the willies, I guess is the best way to describe it, and you feel like you're being watched a little bit. And it's kind of hard to describe, but it's kind of like your senses just go on high alert, and all of a sudden you're just like, wow, I need to leave, and I need to leave now.
More to come in the next segment.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Here on WBEV, your home for paranormal investigators and ghost hunters.
And your own ghost station.
So how did it go?
Thanks,
Sounds
Wade.
great. Thanks, Wade.
You guys have been here all since like 11 o'clock last night?
We're a little loopy. We've been here since 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've been on the air since 10. We've had very fascinating conversations with local paranormal investigator and author Zelia Edgar, and tying a lot of the conversations that we had with her into the Native American burial mounds and the sightings that have.
I'd like to talk to her about that.
So, no, I plugged it into there. Yeah, we need to plug it into the Conrex. No wonder it didn't work.
So how did you guys sit here? Did you have the lights off, or did you have some of this
we
on?
flipped some lights off, some of them on.
Did you walk around at all?
Yeah, we've got 3 cameras and 1 mobile camera. One
Yeah.
phone basically. And so, yeah, we would hit different sections.
Absolutely. We did some EVP work up in the schoolhouse, as well as around the memorabilia, the war memorabilia.
Yeah.
And we got some interesting electromagnetic field detection in those areas around some of that stuff, which is kind of interesting. Which you're in the main part of the upstairs there, and we weren't getting anything. But then you walk into that section, and near like some of like the Nazi memorabilia and things like that, we were picking up a higher signal. And we were able to determine it wasn't the HVAC system. Because we could put it near the HVAC, we were getting nothing. But when we raised it to head and shoulder, chest height, we were picking up stuff that way. I find it interesting what you're saying about the demeanor changing. And I guess I attributed it to just being me inside my head. But at one point in time, we had Roger Knoll here, and they went and kind of took a little tour upstairs with him and talked to him about some of the historical stuff. And my child was sleeping under the table in there. And I was sitting there watching the cameras, and in my mind's eye, this building suddenly felt smaller. Like everything was just kind of closer together. And
Yeah,
I
it's kind of
felt a little-
heavy, and it gets kind of...
Pat says it lifts. You say it gets heavy. You thought it gets smaller. How weird.
Well,
Everybody's
it-
got a different
It felt
kind
like
of
everything was
sense
a
of.
little bit closer, and I got a little bit, hairs in the back of my neck standing up. But then I thought, oh, it's just my mind, because I'm here listening to the dead silence, and nobody else is around me, so everything gets.
Well, I've tried to explain it away over the years where I've been here by myself and gotten that feeling, and it doesn't happen all the time. There have been sometimes I've been here where it's been late and it's felt fine, and then Other times it's real distinct. I mean, it's just like, whoa, I need to leave now. And I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess you just have to feel it. But I've had other things happen to me. I've distinctly heard a woman's voice in here on a couple of occasions. And I know my daughter heard it once too when she was here when she was about 8 years old. I can tell you that story. There's a lot of unexplained sounds that happen in here that we can't really debunk. Like one time I was here late, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and right above, my desk is right around the corner there, and right above my desk, where the military display would be upstairs, about 10 o'clock at night, it sounds like somebody took a book, like a big old-fashioned dictionary, and just went bam on the top of the floor. I mean, how do you explain that?
Right.
And I'm looking at this, we used to have security cameras hooked up in the corner of the desk over there, and I could see upstairs.
Right.
And there's nothing up there. But I'm still here, and I'm like, well, I gotta go up there, because I'm thinking somebody was still here. We had a program here, some guys were talking about this cooperage in Madison or something. But yeah, there's a lot of things. Patrick Lutz had an experience one time where he was actually downstairs in the bathroom, and he very distinctly heard what sounded like somebody dragging a chain by the door of the bathroom. And right where that bathroom is downstairs by the electrical display, that's where the original boiler room used to be. And then in the 1950s, when they put in the modern lights and all this stuff, they switched the boiler room to this back corner side of the building. Mary Beth Jacobson, a former curator before me, she has seen an apparition of what she believes is Hattie Doolittle on more than one occasion. And we also have what we believe is a small black shadow figure that I've actually seen on about 4 or 5 occasions. And I'll tell you, it's really strange when you see it too. I mean, it just...
See, if you guys remember when we went down into the
You said you
basement,
saw a shadow.
the light was coming, because we had turned off the light in that interim area where the electrical stuff is that you were talking about. That light was off. But the light in the other part of the basement was on. We were walking towards it, and I swore I saw a shadow from that side.
Yeah.
And I went, I
I've
swear I
seen
saw
that.
something black move there. Like there was a shadow, like somebody was standing on the other side of it.
So I'll tell you what happened. A couple days ago, Jessica, I forget her last name, but she's going to be one of the young women that's going to be doing the ghost storytelling out here. She came here for a visit, and we had the whole building to ourselves, and her and I were walking around, and I was just showing her around. And the same thing happened to us downstairs, where we were walking down through that area,
Right.
and I saw the same thing, and it just stopped me dead in my tracks, and Jessica's looking at me, and she's like, oh, you're just trying to scare me. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I saw it. It looked like somebody was standing there. And it's weird. And another thing that happens is a lot of times people will come in here for research, and they'll be sitting at the end of the long table here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have that door open, and I'll be sitting, the people will sit at the end of the table facing this way, and I'll sit right here, you know, with my back to the door here, to that door. And people will sit there, and they'll be looking at paperwork or something, or archival material, and they'll keep looking like through this doorway this way. And then they'll go back to it, then a few minutes later they'll look again. And I ask people, I say, I see people doing this all the time. And so I say to them, I'm like, why do you keep looking that way? And they say, I swear to God, I see, it looks like somebody's standing there. And it's happened to me before, and it's happened to like at least a dozen people over the last 15 years that I've been working here, where people will be sitting there and they'll keep looking. And then I'll ask them, you know, well, why do you keep looking over there? And they say, I swear it looks like...
Yeah, that's right. We are here at the Dodge County Historical Society Museum, Rick. Ninja, Thomas, Kyra, and myself are joined by the curator of the museum. Kurt Sampson is here. Here as he gets ready for a big day. You've got the Ghost Story Festival going on tonight at 7:30 in the stage that you built right out between the chamber and the this building built in 1891. Sounds like a lot of fun things happening today. As I understand it, talking to Pat Lutz with the Historical Society Board, the idea for this Ghost Story Festival just came from Christmas parties that you guys would have that would suddenly evolve into sharing stories about weird things that have happened in this building.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been several board members on our board of directors here at the museum that have experienced unusual things in the building over the years. And yeah, oftentimes we're sitting around, not only at Christmas, but even during our monthly board meetings, we have additional stories that crop up of strange things that happen to people. And usually, they're just minor things, people getting creeped out or hearing unusual noises or something like that.
Well, you were telling us about a few that you've heard sounds working in your office.
Yeah. I would say the first time that anything happened to me actually didn't happen to me until about 2 years after I was working here. So I was here for a few years before things started, that I started noticing things. And several years ago, we had a presentation here by some gentlemen that were talking about cooperages in the Madison area that used to supply barrels to Beaver Dam's brewery industry back in the day. And we were here late at night. The lecture was at like 7:30, so I was here till about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And being the curator, I'm usually the last one that gets stuck in the building, having to go around and turn off all the lights and shut down the building and things. And one night I was sitting at my desk in the archival room here, and right above my desk is, if you're on the second floor, that's where the military display is. And one night I was sitting at my desk, and just about to walk out the back door. I usually walk out the back fire escape door on the east side of the building.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, very distinctly, it sounded like somebody dropped a very heavy, like old-fashioned type dictionary book on the floor right above my desk. Like, bam, really loud. I mean, unmistakable bang sound. And so, of course, that got my attention. And my first thought, was that somebody was still here. Somebody was upstairs. Most people had left about maybe 15, 20 minutes prior to that, but I was thinking, well, there's got to be somebody upstairs. So I had all the lights off on the building, and I didn't think much of it at first. I thought, well, somebody's up there, right?
Yeah.
So I went to the bottom of the stairs over here, and I yelled up the stairs. I'm a little creeped out, because I'm thinking, well, something's going on, right? And I yell up the stairs. I'm like, hey, we're closed now. You got to come down. The program's over. Come on down. Nothing. So I stood there for a minute. I'm listening, nothing. And so I yell up again. I'm like, hey, come on down. We're closed. You got to leave. Quit screwing around. Nothing. So I got to go up there, right? And I didn't have a cell phone or anything at the time, and the lights are all off. So I'm walking up there. And when you go upstairs, the electrical box that turns on the lights is right where this one is. It's on the wall right over here. And so you got to run across the room upstairs to get to the electrical box. So I get to the top of the stairs, and I'm looking in the room, and so I run over to the box, flip the lights on, look to the spot where my desk would have been on the floor above. And my first thought was, well, something had to have fallen over, like a mannequin or something.
There's lots of spooky mannequins around.
Yeah, there are some creepy. You should see some of the ones we have that are in storage. We keep them there for a reason. And so my first thought was, well, something had to have fallen over. And so I walk over to the spot, and nothing is there. Nothing's in that spot that would have fallen over. Now, coincidentally, this is the same exact location that Mary Beth Jacobson, our former curator, claims to have seen the apparition for the first time, standing in the same spot where I heard the bang on the floor. So if you know anything about Mary Beth, a wonderful person, she's on our board. She was a curator here for about 6 years before I was. And if you talk to her, she's got some really doozy experiences that have happened to her. But if you know anything about Mary Beth, she's crazy about Christmas, okay? So she literally spends hours decorating this building for Christmas. At one time, a few years ago, she literally put up 17 full-size Christmas trees in this building. Wow. That's how crazy she is for Christmas.
So how could you find room for that?
Yeah,
Only 16
so
when
one
she came
night,
back.
this is kind of this is the funniest story that we have, okay? So one night, this was about 4, maybe 5 years ago now that this happened. She was here late at night upstairs, and her husband was here. And at the time, unfortunately, he was going through cancer treatment, and he got tired easily, so he had to leave. And she was left here by herself, and it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And she was upstairs, and she had all the lights on in the building, and the front door was open. And she was just about to leave, so she's walking over to the electrical box, and she's just about to turn the lights off upstairs. And she said she got that feeling that the building was getting heavy and kind of weird. And she all of a sudden felt that she was not alone upstairs, and she turned around, and right where I heard the bang is where she claims that she saw this apparition of a woman just momentarily standing there looking at her in Victorian period garb, and then it just kind of faded away really quickly. Well, she got so scared that she literally ran out of this building, left all the lights on and the door open. So I'm sitting at home, and about 11:30 at night, the police department next door calls me at home. And they're like, "Are you in the building right now?" And I'm like, "Well, no." I said, "It's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, I'm at home." And the dispatch says, "Well, we have 2 officers at the building, and all the lights are on and the doors are open, and there's nobody there." And I didn't know that Mary Beth had stayed here late that night to do that decorating.
Yeah.
You know, because she has a key, because she's a board member, she can get into the building. And I said, "Well, I don't know why the lights are on and the doors are open, but I had to tell the officers how to go in and turn the lights off, and they checked the building to make sure nobody was here." Well, the next morning at 8 o'clock when I got here in the morning, the phone rings right at 8 o'clock. And it's Mary Beth. And she tells me what happened, and she's like, "Well, I was so scared I didn't know what to do, and I just ran out of the building." And I'm like, "Well, you can't leave the building open, you know, and the lights on." And she's like, "Well, that's how scared she was. She just boogied out of here, and that was it. She was gone."
I was kind of hoping for a moment like that
Yeah.
last night, and we didn't quite get that.
It is kind of interesting though, because when we had the EMF reader upstairs, it was that part right on the wall of the military exhibit where we got any sort of reading. Everywhere else in the room was pretty much dead except for that wall, like right over your office.
Yeah. Well, you know, the paranormal research guys that were here from Wisconsin Paranormal that have come here to examine the building on a couple of occasions now, their leader is a guy named Howard, and he claims to be a medium. And, you know, he was telling us right off the bat that as soon as he walked in here that he was feeling certain things, and that he believes that there are actually multiple spirits that are here. And he also was telling us about how he believes that certain objects, historical objects, if you will, that we have in the museum here, have potential to have spirit attachment to them or residual energy. And, you know, we have a lot of things in this building that are quite old, things from, you know, some episodes of human history that are not so great, like, you know, World War I, World War II, you know, things like that. Native American objects upstairs that might have come from burial context or something like that. So there are objects here that he believed that have potential to have that type of attachment to it. One of the EVPs that they caught was of a man that was caught over by the car, the 1902 Rambler over here, and that was owned by J.S. Rowell's son, Samuel Rowell. And the EVP that they interestingly caught over there was a man that said the name Joni or something like that. Sounded like Joni. Well, we were thinking, well, who is Joni, right?
Yeah.
Well, the longtime curator here for many, many years was Joanne Wells. And it sounded like this voice said something like, "Well, where's Joni?" or something like that. And they actually caught what they thought was an apparition of a small boy that coincidentally was standing exactly where that mannequin is right there.
And mannequin.
Yeah, and that is exactly where I saw this what looked like a small black shadow figure. And the weird thing about it was it always happens in the morning before noon. So I would get here about this time, you know, about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be sitting at my desk right there. And it always happened, I've seen it 4 times now. And it always happens when I totally least expect it. I'll be sitting there just doing something mundane, or one time I was on the telephone and I just happened to kind of glance up and I saw it, and you see it for like a split second, it's there, and then it's just gone. It's really weird. And it's weird when you see it because there's no mistaking it. It's like black as black can be. And it's only about maybe this tall, the one that I've seen.
4 foot or so.
So maybe it's this small boy that this apparition that they saw? I don't know. But when you look at the apparition on the film, that they actually caught this on film, and it looks like a small boy that is wearing knickers, like you would see these boys wear, like in the Victorian era, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And he had, and like with a jacket, you know, and he had like, it almost looks like he's wearing almost like a derby cap or something. And it's real faint, but you can distinctly kind of make it out when you see the photograph of it. And it happened to be, it was right in this area right here where they captured it the first time. And that's coincidentally where I've seen the black shadow figure a couple of times, right in this area here. And yeah, it's really hard to describe. And the first time, it didn't really freak me out because I was kind of like, well, what the heck, you know, what the heck was that? But then I started thinking about, well, what could that have been?
Right.
You know, and then I saw it again, and then the second time is when I got freaked out. And I was like, whoa. And then I knew something was going on. And then let me tell you the story about the voices that I've heard. Are we still good?
Yes.
We're still good. Okay. So one time, this was several years ago, my daughter is 23 years old now, and her name is Emma. And one time she came to work with me on a Saturday because my parents used to live up in Oshkosh. And sometimes on a Saturday I would bring her to work with me for 3 or 4 hours, and she'd hang out, and then we would drive from here up to Oshkosh to go see my parents, because I live in Wauwatosa. I commute up here to run the museum. And one day we were here, and it was in February, I'll never forget it. And you know, it gets dark by 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I had to stay here a little bit late for some reason. It was about 5 o'clock, and it was already dark. And we were just about to leave to go out to the back door. My daughter was sitting behind my desk at that long table right there behind the desk. And she was coloring or something, and she was probably about 8 years old, I'm guessing, at the time. And both of us are extremely hard of hearing, right? And my daughter actually wore hearing aids most of her life, like through school and college and stuff. And all of a sudden, we both very distinctly heard a woman's voice say something to us. And it sounds kind of corny, but it sounded kind of like this. It was kind of like a low, monotone kind of mumble. It was kind of like, who are you? Like, kind of like that, like really low. And I was sitting there, and I thought, I heard it. And then all of a sudden, my daughter says to me, she goes, "Daddy, did you hear that woman's voice?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I did." And it came from right out here. And before COVID hit, and before we did all the exhibit renovations and everything, the librarian desk over there used to be right here, if you remember.
Sure.
And we decided to move it over there to open this space up so we could use this for public programming. Well, the woman's voice came from right outside my door, right around it. Sounded like it came from right out here where the desk was, the librarian desk.
Back when it was the William Street
When it was
Library.
the library, yeah.
Wow.
So was it Hattie? I don't know. But so then about 2 years later, I heard the voice again, and this time I heard it in the swan room here, which was this room right here. If you don't know this room right over here, the swan, what we call a swan room, which has the Victorian furniture in it from the Swan House.
Yeah, right.
This used to be the librarian's office and living quarters. And back in the Victorian era, in the 1890s, the librarian used to live in this building. And they had to be here because of the old boiler systems and things. They didn't want the building to burn down.
Right.
So in the back of this room here, if you go to the far back right corner, there's a bathroom right there, a small bathroom. And one day, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and bright sunny July day, nobody was here. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I go to the bathroom. So I'm walking back here to go to the bathroom, and right before I put my hand on the door, I very distinctly heard a woman say, "Who are you?" And it sounded like it came from like right by the door here. And I turned around, looking back towards this door. I thought somebody was there, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't see anybody in the room or by the door here. So I walked back out here, and I'm looking out in this area, and I'm looking around. Didn't see anybody.
And it's stories like these that
Yeah.
you're going to hear at the Ghost Story Festival, which is tonight at 7:30, right outside the Dodge County Historical Society Museum, between the chamber and the museum. Family friendly, bring a lawn chair. What am I
Yeah,
thinking?
there's gonna be popcorn.
Oh.
I could honestly listen to an hour more of these stories.
And what we didn't mention, we do have to go to break unfortunately, is we had a weird experience last night. It was Sherry and Kyra, and they were standing exactly where you are saying when they heard what they thought was,
Like it sounded like a fire escape ladder being pulled down loudly.
Not to mention, when me and him first got here, he started setting up equipment, and I very clearly heard a woman like yell, not like in pain or in danger yell, just kind of like a monotone ah.
dun dun dun, Ghost Stories Festival tonight, Dodge County Historical Society Museum. Ninja, Kyra, Thomas, Craig, and museum curator Kurt Sampson, live from the Dodge County Historical Society Museum. Back to you, Rick.
So a sound that sounded like a fire escape thing being pulled down?
We tried to get him to spend the night with us, Rick. You know, I mean,
Oh, wow.
he doesn't want to spend the night here, it sounds like.
You know what I'm thinking about doing? I'm really serious about this. And it actually freaks me out to think about it. Is sometime before the end of this year, I'm thinking about spending a night in here by myself.
By yourself.
Like bringing like a camping blow-up mattress and a couple of blankets. And
So you would
just
sleep?
and sleep and stay here and see what happens by myself. Like maybe just sleep in the swan room on the floor or something.
Wow.
And I mean, I'll tell you what, guys. You guys know who Jack Kwan is in town. He's this kind of older Korean man that works for the post office now, but he used to run a chicken poultry farm around here. Well, he volunteers here once in a while, okay? And one of the reasons I know that I'm not the only one that feels this heavy atmosphere in here when the demeanor of this building changes is because Jack felt it one time. And if you know anything about Jack Kwan, he's about 68 years old, and he's from South Korea, and he's really like, he's like your, I'm not trying to be like stereotypical, but he's like your stereotypical like Korean man, just like real
Stoic.
you know,
Yeah.
not serious, and he understands English pretty well, but he doesn't understand the slang. And he's got a really good sense of humor once you get to know him. But if you just met him, he's just real, you know, like an old Korean guy, right? And one night, a couple of years ago, this is in 2017, we had a World War I exhibit that we were putting out in this area over here to mark the 100-year anniversary of the end of World War I, because we have a lot of World War I stuff. And one night, we were sitting at the table, just him and I. It was about 8 o'clock, and we were trying to finish the exhibit labels because the next morning was the opening for this exhibit. And Jack and I were sitting there at the table, and there's nobody else in the building, and the lights were primarily off except for like a couple lights in the office. And Jack was sitting across the table from me, and he was working very diligently to cut out this label and get it mounted on the frame thing. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of looking at him from across the table, and all of a sudden he just kind of stops, and he puts his head up and he looks at me and he goes, "I have to leave." He said, "Something's not right here, I'm leaving." And he got up, grabbed his coat, and walked right out the freaking door without saying another word to me. And all he said was, "Something's not right here, I'm leaving." And he got up and walked out.
And did you stay?
Yeah, I had to, because I had to finish the rest of the... And then I was freaked out, and the weird thing about it was, like, when he felt it, that demeanor change of the atmosphere here, I wasn't feeling it at that point, but he felt it. And then as soon as he said something and he left, then after a little while, then I started to feel it, and I was here by myself. And I had to stay for about a half hour by myself. And then after about a half hour, I wasn't even done with the labels, and it got so bad. I'm like, I gotta leave. And I'm telling you, when you get the weird feeling in here, it's almost like this feeling of dread kind of washes over you, and it's like you need to leave, and not like 5 minutes from now. You need to leave now.
I can't believe that you would spend the night in here.
Oh, because I'm trying to, you know, my big thing is I've had these things happen to me, right? And I've heard the other stories, and I'm still skeptical, you know, even though I've had these things happen. And I still think that in some ways that sometimes our minds just play tricks on us a little bit, and we start to think that we're getting creeped out, then you do get creeped out, then you're like, well, you know. But I don't know, it's happened so many times now that I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like maybe I should just, oh, and here's the thing. So every time that this feeling starts to come on and you get this creeped out feeling, the last time it happened to me was after our Christmas party on December 4th when we had the holiday parade, and I was here late again.
The most recent one?
Yeah, that was the most recent time, but no,
The most recent Christmas
it
break?
was the most recent time that I got creeped out, that I was here by myself. And the funny thing was, we were here having a board party after the parade, and it got to be about 8:30. And all the board members just all of a sudden were like, well, we're all going home, and I had about a half hour of cleaning up to do. And so I'm going around with this big plastic bag, and I'm picking up all the cups and the plates and all this crap. And Patrick and his wife are still here. And they're like, well, do you want us to stay? And Patrick was saying that because he knew that I was going to be here by myself. And I'm like, God, it'll be fine, you know, just go ahead, go on, you know, I'll be fine. No. So not more than 5 minutes after he walked out the door, I had most of the lights off, I was in the office finishing up, and that heavy creep out feeling starts to set in. But this time, the last time it happened to me, this is what I did. So when it started to come on and I was feeling it, I was saying to myself in my mind, I'm like, okay, listen, you're starting to feel this now. Take a deep breath and just be brave and just see what happens. So I was here and I was walking around out here picking up stuff, and it was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I was getting scared. I was legitimately getting scared. I was like, shit, I gotta leave. And I'm like, no, take a breath. Just see if it passes. See if something else happens. And I tell you, I wasn't here more than about 5 or 10 minutes more, and it got to be so bad, I'm like, I have to leave. And I didn't even finish cleaning up. I'm like, screw this, I'm leaving. And I left. I said, I'll come back the next, I came back the next day and cleaned the rest of it up. It got that bad. I tried to stick it out, but it gets so heavy. And maybe it's just me, I don't know. Maybe I'm sensitive to this kind of stuff. But,
you know,
right.
I mean, you know, talk about
and you guys probably know Glenn Link on our board, right?
Yeah, we know the
So-
ragtime story.
You know the what?
The ragtime music
Yeah,
story?
so Glenn was one of the only board members that never had anything happen to him, and he was totally skeptical. Well, then, one night he was bringing these chairs in. He bought 30 of these chairs for us from Costco or something, and he was here about 9:30 at night, bringing them in here by himself, laying them on the floor here, and all of a sudden, he felt that creeped out feeling. And then right over here, he said he started to hear very distinctly, like this 1920s type music.
And as I understand, he would walk toward it and it would get quieter,
And
and then walk away and it would get louder.
yeah, and he was trying to think, he was thinking maybe it was coming from the street out here or something. And now here's the thing, I have heard that music too, and it was recently, where I was here. And I'm trying to think when this was. It was about 3 weeks ago, maybe? About a month ago? I was here, and it was during the day, and I was in this closet right here. That's a utility closet. There's a basin sink in there, and I was in there cleaning out my coffee pot. And I was leaning into the closet, and all of a sudden I heard what I thought was some music. And it was coming from back over here. And I popped my head out, the door was open, I popped my head around the door, and then it stopped. And then I put my head back into the closet, and I was rinsing out the thing, and then it started again. And then I'm standing there, and I thought to myself, well, it didn't scare me for some reason when I heard it. I just thought, well, that's what Glenn heard. And the weird thing about it is back here in the corner here, there's a display about the Harder's Military Band and the old Wagner Music College. So there is musical displays right back in the corner here. If that has anything to do with it, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else has happened here.
No, it
To
sounds
me.
like nobody's had any instances where they felt like they were being attacked or anything like that, right?
No, I don't know if nobody's ever felt like that, but
We lived, hey.
We did live.
Hey,
We're still
Everybody's
here.
still here, and.
Well, Sherry mysteriously disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know that. Maybe we'll find her later.
Maybe, you never know. So we've got a break on BEV in 5 minutes, and that's gonna be a 6-minute break. So we, and this will be a different station, so we could pick out, maybe one of those stories, which one is the best, whichever one you wanna tell. Maybe we
I
could
mean-
do it if we.
which one do you like?
I mean, I'm a little bit freaked out now by the whole black shadow thing because I thought it was crazy down in the basement. When I jumped ahead of you guys, I was like, I swear I saw something right here. So I was like,
And,
maybe I
and,
did.
and the shading of the light couldn't have projected it.
It wouldn't have been us, yeah, because we were in a dark space. It would have had to have been something inside.
Well, I'll tell you this, that Howard, the paranormal guy from Wisconsin Paranormal, he claimed, the last time they were here, he claimed that there was the spirit of a man downstairs that didn't like Native Americans, and he was upset, and the spirit told him that he didn't like the fact that we had things about Red Wolf up on the balcony up here, and
Did he know there was anything about Red Wolf on the balcony?
Howard?
well, they did. I mean, they knew the stuff was up there, but you know, those guys also believe in the orbs, you know. And I'll tell you, man, he took this video of the basement downstairs where you see multiple orbs just kind of shooting around the room and stuff.
So that's on video.
And I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I always thought that those were just kind of like dust particles or something, and you know. But he's like, no, he's like there. That's when he started telling us he thought there were multiple spirits here, and I'm trying to think what else.
So we want to do the Dark Shadows thing?
I mean, we could. I mean,
Did you mention that in the last break? Did you talk about Dark Shadows on the air? That would have been on
I
the
talked
podcast
about
anyway.
the black shadow figure that I've seen a few times.
I just couldn't remember if you did it before we went on the air or while we were on the air. It's all starting.
No, we were right on the air, I think.
We're on the air for that one? Okay.
it might have been, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
You can lead. Why don't you lead into that, and then you know what you saw, and then.
Okay. I'm gonna get the timer going because I guess Wade's on pretty strict, but do we have another, I don't know if we have another break with Rick or not.
I thought he wanted to watch it like 45.
That one was all question marks. You want to text Rick and ask him
If we got,
if he wants to do another, if he wants to do another one. Skip that.
Well, they're figuring that out, yeah. So the sound they heard, as soon as they heard it, they came out and they were like, did you guys hear that? Nobody out here did.
Yeah, Pat, did you know that while we were interviewing you, me and Thomas were interviewing you, Kyra and Sherry heard a distinct noise that sounded like a fire escape ladder being dropped right above the bathroom.
Oh, that's what Steve Hank has heard too.
Okay.
You know who Steve Hank is?
Yeah, I know, Steve.
Steve heard that too. So about 2 months ago, was it? Steve and his wife Jeannie, right?
Right.
They wanted to see. They spent an evening in here from about 7 o'clock at night to about midnight, and they sat back here playing cards with all the lights off, and then they walked around. They were trying to see if they could experience something themselves. And Steve said the one thing that happened was that they were near the bathroom over here, and they heard a sound like that. And he said it sounded like something like you described.
Yeah.
And he said he could not figure out what it was.
Yeah.
I just remembered that.
We immediately went upstairs with the EMF because they thought we were something upstairs. Because above that is like the schoolroom. But we weren't getting anything, no triggering, no nothing. And so, yeah.
So do we think we can squeeze Steve Hankus and the noise and the black figures into 6 minutes? I'm gonna get I'll get a timer going. All right.
So you interviewed Pat last night, or?
Yeah, we interviewed Pat last night, got the kind of historical overview. Didn't get into too much of the spooky stuff.
Right.
His experience, we kind of touched on Glenn's thing.
Did he tell you his experience about how he found this document?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
he was focused on the finders, but Pat did tell us a little bit more on community comment Tuesday when he came in. He got it, that's when he told us about the chains. That was, or did it, was that, again, it's all starting to bleed together.
Right.
We've been up for a while. We didn't bring a blow-up mattress.
No.
No, well, I will say, while I was sleeping on the floor, like you said, there was multiple times where I was woken up because I felt like there was just like this heavy pressure on my back, like someone was like pushing down.
I'm just glad you didn't unplug anything while you're sleeping under the table.
Or the spirits didn't unplug anything. Well, we gotta be going, well, now it's the 8:36.
What was he
Are
behind?
you guys on till 9 or?
Yeah, yes, essentially our morning shows wrap up at 9. We've got this break on WBEV, and then did you hear anything from Rick? We may do one more.
We can, but we'll need to keep it to 8 to 10 minutes.
Oh, 8 to 10 minutes, okay.
That's
All right, yeah.
Do you have to do your afternoon show then today?
No, I'm not going, I'm gonna
I
have
was
to
gonna say, you're gonna be,
yeah, I'm
by
gonna,
noon you'll be all,
I'll just be loopier than I am now.
I'll say, it's about 4:30 yesterday morning is when I woke up, so, I'm
You're
going
home.
to span now.
You're holding it together pretty well, Ninja.
hey, by the way,
Radiothon has trained me.
before I forget, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I got the Indian Moms book done and Bill, the one that Bill Volker and I wrote.
Awesome.
And right now it's at the University of Wisconsin Press for review for publication.
Fantastic.
And so you were saying you talked to woman last night about.
Zelia Edgar, she's a Beaver Dam woman, and she's just very insightful on the paranormal side of things, and which she's really big into Bigfoot and what's that word?
Cryptids.
Cryptids, and apparently
Krypton, yeah.
cryptids are.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a big connection between Native American mounds and sightings of various things. You may or may not be aware. I'm sure. Angel
Well, I've heard stories, you know.
So she's very into it. She's
I was ever met her
I was
before.
very impressed with how knowledgeable she is. Yeah, I mean, she would be an interesting person to.
How old is
I would
she,
love
would
to
you
see. She's
say?
26.
Well, I don't know if I've ever
Her mom works at the radio station. How old does she look?
She looks like she's 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to her.
Here we go. Yep, and we're here with museum curator Kurt Sampson in advance of the Ghost Story Festival tonight at 7:30, right here between the chamber and the museum. Fantastic ghost stories inspired, the whole idea kind of inspired by just sharing ghost stories among board members and people that come to the Historical Society, like we did last night spending the night. Ninja, you had some weird experiences.
Well, yeah, because in between radio segments, we got to talking a little bit about some experiences that were had, and it reminded us of something that happened earlier for us. We went down into the basement, and we were passing from a dark area into a light area, and I saw a dark mass that I thought was a shadow, but the shadow would have had to come from an area we had not yet entered. None of us were in there yet. And I commented to you guys, like, did you guys see that? It looked like a shadow or a darkness or something, and nobody else had seen it, so I thought it was crazy. And then we hear, you've seen dark figures here at the Historical Society.
Yeah, we have. I have experienced what they like to call black shadow figures or dark mass figures in the museum on 3 or 4 occasions, and I have seen in the basement what you have described on a number of occasions, and it's just it really kind of creeps you out. You know, it makes you stop right in your tracks, and you're like, wow, what's that? You know, and recently it happened just a couple days ago. We were downstairs and showing a young woman named Jessica, who's going to be one of our ghost story tellers from Old World, Wisconsin. And her and I were just doing a general tour of the museum, and same exact situation. The lights were off down there. We were walking from a lighted area into an area that had some dark, into the what we call the Monarch Room, which is where the Monarch stove displays are. And we both very distinctly saw what looked like a dark black mass that was just kind of there and then just kind of gone. And it stopped me right in my tracks. And Jessica claims that she thought that she saw, but she wasn't sure. And then, you know, she was kind of, she thought I was pulling her leg, you know, because, you know, she's a ghost hunter. She was coming in here, and she thought, oh, I was trying to, you know, spook her out, but I wasn't. And, yeah, the stuff, it's weird.
You know, we had another tie-in with what well, Thomas and I were interviewing Pat yesterday, and that's when Sherry Sackett and your daughter Kyra heard something in Hattie Doolittle, the former librarian of 40 years who lived here overnight, all the time, heard something in, what was
Yeah,
it?
so apparently they were just outside the bathroom area, which would have been Hattie's bathroom, and that was her living quarters slash office when she was librarian. And they heard what sounded like a fire escape ladder kind of pull down crash kind of sound, that kind of noise. And they came out and immediately grabbed me and said, we heard this, let's go upstairs and find out what did it. And so we went upstairs and we couldn't find anything. There was nothing we found that would make that sound. We weren't picking up any, you know, EMFs or anything like that, nothing that would have been an indicator that we could debunk it. So we thought maybe it's nothing. But you're saying somebody else recently experienced something similar.
A similar experience happened about maybe 2 months ago to Steve Hankis, who's on our board of directors, where Steve had heard all the ghost stories over the years, and he was kind of skeptical as well. And a couple months ago, he asked me if it was okay if him and his wife would spend an evening in the museum between about 7 and midnight. And they were just going to sit in the office and have all the lights off, and they were playing cribbage or something. And at one point, Steve was in the swan room, walking to go back towards the bathroom, and he heard a very similar sound in there. And he tried to debunk it as well by going into the bathroom and, you know, looking around and seeing, you know, if there were pipes in there making weird sounds, or, and then he actually went upstairs like you did, looked around, and they actually kept the lights off and stuff. And he said it was just a very strange sound that seemed to just come out of nowhere, that didn't seem to have any kind of, you know, provenience or whatever, and couldn't explain it.
Now, so that could be, that's a noise. Has there been moments where you've heard maybe Hattie Doolittle, her voice?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the very first experiences that I ever had here as curator, and it didn't actually happen until a couple of years after I was working here. I had my young daughter here with me at work on a Saturday one afternoon, and she was spending the day with me here at the museum. And we were, it was in February, and it was dark by 5 o'clock. And we were just about to leave the building, going out the back eastern side door. And we both very distinctly heard a woman's voice say something to us. Now, we both could not figure out what the voice said, because it was kind of a weird monotone mumble. But we were both actually pretty hard of hearing, and we both distinctly heard this voice. And it said something to us. And my daughter was only about 8 years old at the time, and she looked right at me and said, "Daddy, did you hear that woman's voice?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard it." And then it happened to me one other time, coincidentally, when I was in Hattie's office, where I was in there, and I heard a woman's voice. And this time I understood the voice, and it very distinctly said to me, it said either, "Who are you?" or "Who are you?" And I turned around thinking somebody was behind me, over by the door of the office. Nobody there. I can't explain it, but I heard it.
Have apparitions been seen here? We only got about 30
Yeah,
seconds.
we've had a few apparitions, black shadow figures, and an apparition of a woman that many of us believe is possibly Hattie Doolittle. A lot of people don't know this, but Hattie Doolittle actually died in this building.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and she was found deceased in here by a parks worker who maintains the lawn of the Historical Society. And back in the 1950s, this man noticed that the library was not open when it was supposed to be, and there were people milling around outside, and he was working out here on the bushes, and he had a key to the building, and he keyed in, and they found Hattie deceased on the floor in here, and they think that she either had a heart attack or something.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't know that, but Hattie actually did die in the building. So the thought is that maybe she is the spirit.
The Ghost Story Festival here at the Dodge County Historical Society Museum is 7:30 tonight. Bring a lawn chair. They made a stage outside between the chamber here and the building that was built in 1891. We spent the night here. We survived. We had a few weird things, a few things we were able to debunk, and a few things that we're still going to be looking into.
Right.
So, stay tuned, and you're going to hear more on WBEV about this experience that we had. On behalf of Ninja, Thomas, Museum Curator Kurt Sampson, this is Craig saying back to you, Wade.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew that story, that Hattie actually died in here.
Nobody's brought that up all night.
Well, the story that I was told was that later in her life, she was not living here. That only was during like the 1890s.
She went to Hotel Rogers, that's what we
Yeah, then she moved over to the Hotel Rogers. And then she lived somewhere else, I thought, at some point. But yeah, she died here in the building of a heart attack or something. And they found her deceased on the floor out here, like she had collapsed, And so, yeah.
Tell us the comments. So I think we should, because Rick hasn't heard the dark figure
Right.
and the noise story yet.
Right.
And he also hasn't heard basically, I think we should just do this again with Rick.
That segment again?
Yeah, but we have a little bit more time. So,
Same
2 minutes.
theme.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes, we got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and he wound up giving us about 7 minutes. So that was actually about 7 minutes.
So pretty good.
So we did pretty good. We could be a little bit more. Is there one more thing maybe we can get into the apparition a little more?
Yeah.
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 And then take that into a death and close with a death.
You know Kathy Barnett, right? Yeah.
Oh, I know Kathy. Actually,
You know her daughter, Stephanie?
the cell phone drain. Which stairway was it?
Did her daughter,
coordinates. Yeah, she mentioned it on community comment.
that her daughter saw the apparition? Did she say that?
She didn't say that. No,
So
she
Stephanie claims that she has some medium ability as well. And she told me that
Yeah,
when
she did say there was
when she was a little girl, that when she was walking up the stairs to go up to the second floor, that before she got to the second landing, that she stopped dead in her tracks, and that it looked like Hattie was standing there on the steps looking down at her. And so she's seen this apparition as well. That's what she told me.
So that would be Lori. What's her name? Lori Beth? Lori Beth? Is it Jacobson
Mary Beth?
or Jacobson?
Mary Beth Jacobson.
Okay. And so she would have seen an apparition. Stephanie Wiedenheft would have been the other one. We didn't see any apparitions. But we haven't looked at the
Right,
video.
we go back to the video yet to see. Because we've had at least 2 cameras recording for quite a while where they weren't always what we were watching. So
Right.
who knows what we'll catch.
And I think most interesting would be then around 10:30. And what the other cameras picked up at 10:30.
Yeah.
They all would have been running, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have plenty of that. There's a lot of pipes there.
That was
If
the
I
first
saw
I've
time.
never heard a song like that, and I've been here for 15 years, and I've sat in that bathroom many times, at night and during the day, and I've never heard anything as
Some strange sounds, none of them plumbing.
Where did Hattie shower? Oh, I think we gotta go.
I think they use those basin bowls, to...
And we're here with museum curator Kurt Sampson in advance of the Ghost Story Festival that's coming up tonight at 7:30 right outside the museum. We did spend the night here. We've got some things that we were able to debunk and a few that we weren't really quite able to debunk. One that we didn't even mention earlier, Rick, which was something that happened when we were in the basement.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where in passing it was probably easy to kind of put off as maybe I'm just seeing things. And that can happen because you don't always know all the stories and everything that's going on. And in my case, I wasn't influenced by any stories coming into this, so I didn't have, that information to kind of sway my thinking. But we were all walking down the basement as a group, and we were walking from a section where it was dark into the Monarch section of the basement, which was lit up. So we were not casting any shadows into that space, but I saw a shadow on the wall as we were walking in that direction. So something inside that space or something in the doorway would have had to be casting that shadow. And I made a comment of it at the time to everybody that was there that I saw it, but it couldn't have been any of us. And I think we all kind of passed it off as maybe ninjas seeing things. But now we hear, this is not uncommon.
Yeah, and the same thing happened to me just a couple days ago. I was giving a tour to Jessica, who's going to be one of our ghost storytellers tonight. She had come to check out the building a couple days ago in the stage area in the back. And her and I were walking downstairs and had almost the exact same experience where, but it was a little different where I turned on the lights in the middle room, but the lights in the Monarch room, which is the back room, were still off. But there's a little bit of light that filters from the back side of the building in there. And we got to about the middle of the middle room where the tools are there. And I looked into the Monarch room, and off to the right near the entrance, it looked like there was some type of a very distinct, really dark black shadow there. And it was big, I mean, size of a man basically standing there. And I saw it, and it instantly stopped me in my tracks and freaked me out. And I said to Jessica, I'm like, did you see that? And she said, I thought I saw somebody standing there or something. And then she thought I was trying to creep her out, because she's coming here to, and I was telling her other ghost stories before we went downstairs, because we had walked around the building at that point for a good half hour. And she was under the impression that I was just trying to freak her out, but I wasn't. And I looked right at her, I'm like, I'm telling you, I am not trying to creep you out. I thought I saw a very dark shadowed figure standing there. And I've seen it on a number of occasions in the museum where we have what's called a black shadow figure that, and it always happens when you least expect it. You'll be doing something in the museum, just minding your own business, going about your job, and all of a sudden, you get that feeling where the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and you just happen to look up, and you see this black shadow, and it's there momentarily, and then it's just kind of gone. It's really strange.
And we wound up kind of corroborating another story that we didn't quite know what to make of too.
Yeah, so we were kind of thinking we were going to debunk this with piping issues or something, but Sherry and Kyra were in Hattie's, what would have been her quarters in her office near what would have been her bathroom, and they heard a sound that none of the rest of us heard, that they described as being like a fire escape ladder being pulled down, like a loud clanging metal-y kind of sound. And we, like I said, we thought pipes, right? It's got to be pipes.
Yeah.
But apparently, no, and other people have heard that sound as well.
Well, yeah, and one of our board members, Steve Hankus, was in the building a couple of months ago with his wife. They were skeptical of the paranormal activity that was happening here, and they asked if they could spend an evening here from about 7 at night to about midnight, where they actually brought in food and cards and just decided to sit here and see if they could feel the demeanor change and experience anything. And Steve was in the Swan room, or Hattie's room as we call it, and experienced the exact same thing that he just described, of hearing this metallic kind of clanking sound, and seemed to be disembodied, if you will. Wasn't coming from any particular spot or source, but they heard it. And of course they thought to go upstairs to see what might have been upstairs above that room, which coincidentally is the one-room schoolhouse that we have. And there isn't anything in that one-room schoolhouse that would make that kind of noise. It's just nothing but a bunch of old books and children's desks and things like that. And so yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Have you heard anything weird?
Well, the thing about it, when we were talking on break, I've been here for going on 15 and a half years now, and I have never heard anything like that, especially in the Swan room. I mean, I've heard various other sounds in here over the years, but nothing like that.
Like what other kind of sounds? Like
well, one of the weird things that happened to me, one of the other first experiences I had, that sitting at my desk one night late after we had a presentation here, about 9:30 at night, and I was here by myself, and in the archives room where my desk is, I heard a very loud bang in the ceiling above me that sounded like somebody took a big old-fashioned dictionary and just went bang right on the floor. And of course, we had people we had about 30 or 40 people in the building about 15 minutes before that. So my first thought was that somebody was still in the building. Somebody had to be up there. So I went up there looking around for the source of this sound. Nothing. Didn't see it. I thought maybe a mannequin fell over or something.
Have you heard
Nothing
any,
but bare floor space right where the sound came from.
have you heard any voices here?
I've heard voices too. I've heard on a couple of occasions a woman's voice very distinctly say something to us. And
To us?
well, one time to my daughter and I, when my daughter heard it, she was about 8 years old. And another time when I was here by myself, very distinctly heard a woman's voice say, "Who are you?" asking me who I was. And came in Hattie's room, same room where he had the experience of hearing that sound. And you would think if Hattie didn't know who I was, and if I was in her room, she would say, "Who are you?"
And your daughter heard it.
And my daughter was 8 years old and very distinctly heard a voice in here, a disembodied voice that we both heard.
Well, speaking about Hattie, I think all of us were pretty shocked to hear about what had eventually happened to Hattie.
Well, eventually, a lot of people don't know this, but Hattie Doolittle, the librarian, a longtime librarian here, she actually died in this building. She was found deceased in this building, I think it was in 1952, I want to say. And she was found by a city worker that takes care of the property outside, the Parks Department takes care of the lawn outside. And the city worker noticed that the library was not open when it was supposed to be. And there were people outside wondering what was going on. So he keyed into the building, and they found Hattie deceased on the floor like she had had a heart attack or something. So yeah, she actually died in the building. And so that's one of the reasons why a lot of people think that maybe her spirit is still here and watching over the library still after all these years.
And some people said they've seen apparitions of her in the building.
And the apparition that has been seen by Mary Beth Jacobson on a couple of occasions, and even by Stephanie Barnett, we believe looks like an apparition, or they describe it as an apparition that looks like a woman that looks like Hattie, that's in period Victorian wear, those old-fashioned dresses, and that they see this woman just kind of standing there momentarily, and then just kind of whisks away. Yeah.
And these are the types of stories that you could hear tonight at the Ghost Story Festival. And in fact, Lori Brooks has kind of weaved stories, history from the museum into her play that is going to kind of cap off the
original
piece. Her
Inspiration for it all, yeah.
Internationally known, award-winning playwright who's written plays for the Olympics, for the Kennedy Center. She's just one of the individuals who has a story that she is going to share. Kurt, thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Well, this has really been quite a day, guys.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps all over.
Have some substantiation of things that we passed off as not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of put a nice cap on the whole.
I think we're going to have to dig into some of the footage. And which, by the way, if you could watch our entire, 11-hour experience here at the museum.
Yeah, absolutely, in 2 parts. So yeah, go part 1, and we're in part 2 now.
Yeah, the morning show is part 2. The dark hours are part, what was that noise? Are part 1. And
The number of times you've dropped your phone.
It's not 4 times now?
I would say the first hour is just worth watching. It's got to be, I'm going to go back and watch it because it's got to be ridiculous.
Absolutely, it's going to be phenomenal.
Anyway, Ghost Story Festival tonight, 7:30, live from the Dodge County Historical Society. Ninja, Thomas Craig, and museum curator Kurt Sampson. Back to you, Rick. All right.
I'll tell you one more story that happened recently. This is a real quick story. About 2 weeks ago, there was a woman that came in here, and it was during the day, and she was walking around the building for a little while. I saw her come in, and I just kind of waved to her, and she went downstairs. And I thought, well, she's going to look around or whatever. And then I was sitting in the archives with another person that came in, and we were looking for some archival material. And all of a sudden, this woman appears in the door right there, and I'd never seen this woman before. And without prompting, she says to me, she goes, what's with the basement? And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I was down there, and it feels weird down there. Something's going on. She said, something's going on down there. And of course, I knew, knew what she was alluding to, right? I'm like, so I said to her, well, what do you mean something's going on down there? She's like, well, I feel something's going on down there. But she wouldn't tell me, like, she just kept saying things like that. She would just say, well, there's something going on down there. I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, I don't know. She's like, it's down there, it felt kind of weird. And all she would say is, there's something going on down there. And then she just left without prompting. I don't know. She experienced something down there.
I will say of all the floors, of all the levels,
Right.
the top floor, this floor all feel pretty neutral to me. Maybe it's just because it's a basement,
Right.
but the basement has always been a little more.
Well, and I'm still not entirely convinced whether we did or did not debunk the EMF detectors going off in the basement.
Right, there were some weird things
Because
going
the
on.
first time we went down there, it was me, Sherry, and Kyra, and we walked past those. And we walked past, we got like a little blip. And I had my cell phone in my pocket with me. Like, we had everything right there, all the same stuff we had before. But then when we went down as a group, over the typewriters, we were picking up a higher signal.
And we went down there twice, 'cause remember, the second time it also happened, but also phones were away from it as well, and I tried to draw their attention to it, but Thomas had found the boiler room making noise.
Yes.
So we had that first.
The watery sound coming from the boiler.
Which we thought was the shush
Right.
initially.
Yeah.
Did we tell you about the shush?
About the what?
The shush?
Well, yeah, you debunked that, though.
Yeah,
right?
we debunked it.
Yeah, we
no.
did
Yeah, it was a
That
debunk.
sucks because that would have been perfect.
And it happened like 45 minutes in. What did you say? You thought the walls would be bleeding like 3 hours in, if that's how our first hour starts?
But
I mean,
absolutely insane.
the noise did happen in the first 10 minutes.
It did. It did. Absolutely.
15 minutes.
Now, if you guys want to do this again, not here, but at a different place, I'm telling you, and I've experienced this firsthand myself, and I'm still somewhat, sometimes, even after all the crap that's happened to me here, I'm still a little skeptical, but I'm telling you, one place I'm not skeptical that is haunted is the Satterley Clark House in Horicon. That place, I'm telling you, is
Is that the
haunted.
bunk bed place?
That's
And they have the same...
That's not the bunk bed place.
what's that?
That's not the bunk bed place in Oregon.
No, that's
the
the-
old historical.
That's the old historical set that's run by Lonnie Nye over there. And they had the same ghost hunter guys come over there twice now to spend the night there and do the paranormal investigation. Now let me tell you a really quick story about what happened to me there one time. So one time, this was about maybe 8 years ago, I went there, I met Lonnie at the house there in the morning. And the reason is that she had some Native American bones that were taken out of a mound like way back in the 1800s by a dentist that she had in a small box of a mound that was in Horicon. And this dentist used to take this native skull and put it on display in his dental shop in Horicon. This is a known story, okay? And she had the bones in a box, and she wanted to get rid of them. She's like, what can we do about these bones? And I said, well, let me come over to the Historical Society, I'll take a look at them. And I said, we can repatriate them back to the Ho-Chunk, and they'll take them and just perform ceremony on them and rebury them or something. And I know Bill Quackenbush, who's the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, real well from my dealings, being an archaeologist. And so if you go into that house, it has one of those real steep Victorian staircases, right? And when you get to the top of the stairs, right straight ahead to the stairs is this little room that's maybe a 10-foot square room. And that's their research room where they keep their archival boxes. And then if you turn right and you go down the long hallway, there are 2 bedrooms at the end of the hallway. Well, in one of the bedrooms to the left on the floor were a few of these old-fashioned, like literally 100-year-old balls, like these rubber balls, like children's balls. And Lonnie and I were sitting in the office about, that stairwell is damn near from where we're sitting all the way to that wall. And so when we went into the room, there's this desk that takes up the right wall. And Lonnie was sitting here facing the door, and I was sitting here with the door frame right behind my back. And we were sitting there looking at these remains, and I told her what we could do. And all of a sudden, one of those balls from the room down the hallway came rolling down the hallway right past us. And you could hear it coming. And I went like this, and I looked down the hallway, and I could see it rolling towards us, and it gets to the door frame, and it hits the wall that's right here by the stairs, and stops. And without missing a beat, I turn and I look at Lonnie, and she's like, "Huh." She's like, "That's like the 6th time that's happened." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be sitting up here and that ball just comes rolling down the hallway by itself." She's like, "It's like the 6th time that it's happened." Like, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm telling you, that place is totally haunted, man.
How are the balls in the room again? They're just sitting there?
They're on the floor by the door.
Why? Why has she got balls on the floor?
I don't know. There's something there in that room. There's like,
Kids?
there's like some kid toy display thing.
Oh, it's a display.
It's a display, and there are these like little rubber balls that are kind of sitting on the floor. Well, there's no way that ball could roll 3 or 4 feet towards the door and then come down the hall. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, this happened. And I thought she was pulling my ass, right? So I got up and I walked down the hallway. I thought for sure, well, Lonnie's got like 5 kids, and I thought one of her daughters was in there pulling our leg, right? So I walked down, I picked up this ball, walked down the hallway, and I'm looking in the closets and under the bed. And there's a bed in there, and there's a bed in the room, Victorian bed set in the room next to it. I thought for sure, and she's like, "Oh no," she's like, and then, so I don't know if you remember this, but we've done some excavations there over the last couple of years in the backyard there.
Oh, in the backyard?
In the backyard of the Satterley Clark house. So if you go to the back of the Clark house, if you look at the back of the house, on the right upper side of the house, on the oldest part of the house, there's a trap door that flips up. So when you get to the top of that stairs and you go straight ahead into that room where we were sitting, if you go to the left, there's a room that has a really low ceiling. You got to like crouch in it, and it's about maybe 10 foot square again. And that's where Satterley Clark used to keep. Satterley Clark came to Beaver Dam the first time in 1832 as a young boy. His dad was the sutler for Fort Winnebago. Sutler is not a settler, but a sutler is the supply sergeant of the fort. And he came to, right where John Deere sits, was a massive Winnebago village site. And it was under the leadership of Whitebreast, who was the Winnebago chief of that village. And so if you go to where the John Deere plant is, right by the Rock River Tap there, and you go across the bridge, and then if you take that first right and you go up the hill up here, that's where the Clark house sits up there. So Clark came back and he established a trading outpost with the Indians there. He was like a fur trapper trader guy. And what he would do is, he kept all of his stores in the upper part of the house. And what he did was he built this narrow staircase that's only about as wide as a person's body, and to go up to the top of that trap door, and he would only deal with the Indians one at a time on top of this little landing, because he was afraid he was going to get ransacked by the Indians. So he would only deal with them one at a time, making them climb up the staircase to this small landing, flip that trap door open, and then he would trade with them or whatever. Well, then he built the Italianate part of the house onto the house to the east of it in the 1850s, okay? Well, a few years ago, Lonnie was digging up the backyard to put this slab walkway, these heavy slab stone walkway through the backyard. And they only dug down in the grass about 2-3 inches to lay these slabs in, and they were finding artifacts in the soil. Native American beads, pottery, historic pieces. And so she called me, she's like, "Hey, you gotta come over and see what we're finding while we're digging in the backyard here." So then I got the idea to actually have a full-fledged archaeological excavation in the backyard, right off the back of the house where he was trading with the Indians. And so we put some units back there and dug down, we found some stuff. And so long story short, I was there one other time during one of these excavations about 3 years ago, where I was upstairs by myself. I had to go upstairs by myself to get something out of that office, some paperwork that Lonnie needed, that I needed to sign for John Deere, because John Deere owns that site, right? They needed a waiver signed or something. So Lonnie's like, well, it's upstairs on my desk, just go up there and just sign it for me. So I went up there and signed it. So when I was upstairs, I had to use the bathroom. So I went down the hallway, and in that room to the right, there's a small bathroom, a little toilet in there that, you know. So I went in there, and when I was in that bathroom, I very distinctly heard children giggling up there, like small children, like giggling and laughing. And Lonnie and a few of her girlfriends had actually spent the night in the house without paranormal investigators, where they just, like what you guys just did, with no equipment or anything. They actually got into the bed, 3 of them, put the covers up to their eyes and sat in the bed overnight. And there's all, but I'm telling you, man, if you want to go someplace where I'm telling you you're going to have something happen to you, do a show there. I'm telling you, that place is crazy. And so Howard and them, I still haven't heard what Howard and them found, but I heard that they found a lot of activity at the Satterley Clark house. And Lonnie says that, the most recent thing that happened there, Lonnie told me, I just talked to her a couple days ago. About 2 weeks ago, she was supposed to meet one of her friends at the Satterley Clark house in the evening. And her friend, Lonnie lives about 4 houses down from the Clark house in an old historic house herself. So she just has to walk like half a block up the street to the house. Well, her friend got to the house before her and was standing outside, and all of a sudden she looked up into that bedroom and she saw the lights flip on up in the bedroom. And she thought that Lonnie was already at the house. So she went over to the front door and tried to walk in, and the door was locked. So she banged on the door, and nobody came to the door, and the lights were on still. And then when she started walking back to the sidewalk, she looked up at the window and the lights turned off. Well, then she looked down the sidewalk and here comes Lonnie. And she's like, well, I thought you were already in the house. She said, somebody's in the house. The lights just turned on and off upstairs. They were on for a couple of minutes and then somebody turned them off. And Lonnie's like, well, there's nobody in the house. I'm here. I just got here now. So they went into the house thinking somebody was in there, obviously. And went upstairs, looked through the whole house, nobody was in there. Somebody flipped on the lights and turned them off when that girl was standing out there waiting for her.
Look for the DailyDodge team at the Satterley Clark House in Florida this October. Thank you. And that concludes our broadcast.
If you want, I'll put you in touch with Lonnie. Maybe you can have her. So they had those paranormal guys come to the house twice, and you should have her on your show, and she can come and tell you what they found.
Can you get the footage that you got from here of the orbs and what did you say?
I think I still have it on my computer. I can send it to you.
I think we would love to see them.
Yeah.
There were 2 things you said, right? There was.
Oh yeah, we have about 18 things that they captured on these little bits of clips. I'll send it all to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You know what we should do, Ninja? We should post this as its own entry onto the video page, but include each camera's full runtime, whether we're on it or not.
Yeah, camera A, camera B, camera C.
Yeah.
So now, are you guys paranormal investigators?
No, we're just a radio station. This
You
seems
guys
like
all
a cool
work for-
idea.
Right.
Yeah, we're just like, let's do it.
And I've done very minor stuff with friends and stuff before, but most of them, hey, let's go to a cemetery and see what happens, and then they freak out and leave.
Well, let me tell you this real quick. You know another place that was totally haunted was the old Lutheran Hospital on top of the hill up here.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear stories about that place?
That's the one they tore out, right?
They tore it down, yeah. So let me tell you the story about that place super quick, okay?
Yeah.
So there's this guy, you guys probably know him, Rob Peterson in town here. You guys know Rob Peterson? He's the guy that rides around on the bike that does the advertising on the bike that you see. And he has this little thing on the back of his bike and he puts signs on it. He
Wait,
tells...
that's Rob, right?
Yeah.
Signs by Rob.
No,
know, we remember him. He texts me all the time.
I know you know this guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway,
He has all the old historic bikes.
one day
Yeah.
about 8 or 9 years ago, he comes walking in here, and he says to me, he goes, hey, he goes, do you have a file, or archival file on the old Lutheran hospital? I'm like, well, yeah, we have some Lutheran hospital history. And he's like, well, do you happen to have the original blueprints of that building? And I said, well, no, but I said, I would be willing to bet that the city probably does. So he went over to City Hall there, and sure enough, they actually had the blueprints of the old Lutheran hospital. And for some reason, when he came in here and he asked me for them, for whatever reason, I didn't think to ask him why he wanted them, right? So he said, okay, and he just left, right? Well, about a week later, he comes walking back in here, and he goes, hey, I just wanted to tell you that I actually found those blueprints and they were at the city. And then I said to him, well, Rob, why did you want those blueprints anyway? And he said, well, you're going to think that this is kind of corny, but he said that he said that hospital was haunted, and I'm doing some paranormal investigating in there. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, so then I said, well, why did you want the blueprints of the hospital? And he said to me, he goes, well, I believe that he said a lot of the paranormal activity that apparently is happening in the hospital is happening in the old boiler room, okay, in the basement. And he said, I believe that the old boiler room used to be where the original morgue room was. And he was right. And so he had a hunch. And so when he got the original blueprints, he was right that where the boiler room was now used to be where the morgue was. And so he set up this camera and this EVP thing and everything. I don't know where the hell he got that stuff, but he had it. And then about a week later, he comes back and he goes, I want to show you something. Well, he shows me this, he puts down this 8x10 picture in front of me, and it shows he captured on film a black shadow figure, and I'm telling you, man, it was the creepiest thing I've ever seen. And I got, my hair stood up on my body when I saw this picture. He's like, take a look at this. And all you could see was, this, it looked like this guy just kind of standing there like this, like you see like an outline of a head and shoulders, and it kind of came down. And it was just black as black. And it was kind of, and above it you could see these pipes and things in the basement, you know? And then he's like, listen to this EVP. And he turns on his little tape recorder thing whatever he had, you know? And I'm telling you, you very distinctly hear, just like you see on those shows, you hear this man's voice, and it was angry. It was like, it said something like, get the hell out. It's like, get out, or something like that. And he's like, I didn't doctor this shit. It's like, I'm telling you, apparently there was some woman named Lisa or somebody that used to be the caretaker of that building or something before they tore it down. And she let him in there, and he was going around and he captured a bunch of stuff in there, but now they tore that